live.
Well, good morning, Morro Bay. Today is Thursday, November 10th, and I'd like to call to order the monthly meeting of the Tourism Business Improvement District. For the record, the time is right about 9 a.m. exactly, and now we'll establish a quorum of our board members present here today. And if I could make a note to the AV staff, the microphone feels very loud in here. I don't know if it's just my mic or others. Jennifer, can you say something?
You sound like a rock star.
Thank you. I feel like a rock star. It's the nature of the position. Board members present here today, from my right to left, we have Charlie Yates, myself, Aaron Graves, Maggie Jurin, and Jane Beeman. That being said, now we will open the microphone up to any public comment, both for items on or off the agenda.
Good morning. Erica Crawford with the Morro Bay Chamber of Commerce. Nice to see all of your faces. I'm here to listen to the conversations that you're going to be having today, 100%. I also, since I'm here, wanted to let you know that we are having a summit. This says Membership Summit and really highlights the membership part. This is open to the entire business community. There are going to be 3 interactive panels. The first is on cross-platform advertising. So we're using in-market resources in Brett Colhure from Tolosa Press. We've got Rock Harbor Marketing, Dimes Media. So these are local resources, but they're absolutely going to be imparting, thank you, information that you can use everywhere. You know, marketing is universal. The second panel will be on the state of the city and commerce. So we'll have Scott Graham. Our mayor will be presenting a state of the city, and our chamber chair will be presenting kind of an overview of where the chamber's come and where we foresee going. The final one is something that I'm excited to start this conversation. This is about developing the coastal labor pool, so some of the challenges and opportunities that we have in developing our workforce. We have some people from Cuesta coming through. We've got the director for the workforce services. She has some workforce development data that she's going to be sharing with us. My hope is that this conversation will start a larger, broader conversation about housing and the workforce, vacation rentals, occupancy, the whole thing. I think it's a really incredible conversation that you're starting today, and I'm excited to continue it. So thank you very much for having me. I'm going to stay and listen. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Erica. Is there any further public comment? Seeing no public comment, we will close that portion of the agenda, and we'll move on to item number 3, which is approval of prior meeting minutes. With the transition of staff and so forth, we wanted to set aside those minutes and visit them when we had a chance to fully organize them. Now, I know all of us as a diligent board had a chance to review every page of those. Last 3 months, we have August, September, and October meeting minutes. And if there is any public comment on those meeting minutes as reviewed, no? Any comment from the board on those meeting minutes? Seeing none, then we're looking for a motion to approve the minutes as stated.
And are we going to approve all of them together?
I believe it's, unless we have no comment, then let's approve all 3 simultaneously. I see, you want to make a motion?
Approve all 4, Aaron.
Oh, excuse me. All 3 months, all 4 meeting minutes, including we had a special meeting in October.
I submit a motion that we approve all minutes that were provided to us for this meeting.
Thank you, Maggie. Do we have
I can second.
Hot mic. Yeah, they are.
Okay, that was a second from Charlie Yates.
I don't need a microphone. Thank you very much.
All in favor of the motion as stated?
Aye.
Aye.
1 abstention because I wasn't here for all of them.
Okay. Jane is abstaining. Motion will pass 3 with 1 abstention. Next item on the agenda, then, we will be changing it slightly because of scheduling conflicts here. So item number 5 will be presented by Craig Schmollinger. He will come up next regarding the TOT report. Craig, I'll turn the mic over to you.
Great, thank you. Craig Schmollinger, I'm your new finance director here for the city of Morro Bay. I'm excited to be joining the team here and working with Jen going forward and at least helping you out with some of the TOT reporting and things like that. So what you have in front of you on the slide here is the most recent TOT report we have through September of the current year. There has been some questions about how the data is presented and how that information can be more succinctly, provided and more usable to both the board and the public as a whole. So this is the slide that you're traditionally used to seeing. And can you go next slide? So Jen and Aaron had asked me to kind of look at doing some type of infographic to give a better snapshot of what we're looking at here. So kind of the left upper bar chart there in blue are the 2016 figures for TOT for September of 2016. And then the year average, that figure for September of 2015 is provided in that orange bar as well. So this kind of gives you a snapshot of what we're looking at as a comparison from current year to previous year. On the right there are just some basic data snapshots of what these bar charts represent. So that'd be a 1% increase from the 2015 September figure. The ADR, or average daily rate, is $136 per room, and that represents a 4% increase over 2015 figures. And then the revenue per available room, so that also includes hotel rooms where there weren't actually stays, or it includes vacancies as well, so that would drop that figure from 136 down to 96 per room, which actually represents a 4% increase from the previous year. And then the occupancy rate as well. So that stood at about 71% as we kind of get out of our tourist summer months here. Some of the other data that Jen put together is on the bottom here, some of the market factors. So an important figure is getting a lot of activity on the weekends, people coming in and escaping the heat. So as you can see in that middle column there, it shows the total number of valley weather days over 70, 80, 90, or 100 degrees, which could directly coincide with our tourist visits for the weekends. So that left column there shows the total number of weekends that were available, or actually were, for September as a whole. So if that were to drop to 3, you'd expect a little less in TOT, or go up to 5 for kind of an odd month that would have 5. That would coincide with an increase in our TOT and most likely a decrease in the occupancy rate. And then on the right just has some statistics about if there's a trolley or some other significant events going on in that month that might have altered the TOT or the revenue that came in, or total TOT receipts, motel receipts, excuse me, or some of the other events like the month-long wine promo and things like that. So this is for September. This is the most current month we have. As you know, we collect our TOT and our revenue from those hotel stays 1 month in arrears. And there's 1 month to actually provide that information to the finance department. So we'd have up until about the 5th or 6th day of the following month. So that'd be the 5th or 6th of November to provide and get the data completely compiled and reconciled for the September month. So Jen, can you go to the next slide, please? Same data here. You're just looking at an August to August comparison just to give another snapshot of what a month might look like. There's a little bit of a decrease year over year, that 8% that's noted on there. The ADR is up a little bit compared to the 2015 figures, and then the RevPAR down a bit. Kind of similar statistics along the bottom. I think Jen noted the valley weather days for August traditionally would have quite a few days over 100, not a single one for all of August. So that could have been a reason for the decrease in the total TOT in August, along with some of the other factors as well, including the chimney fire. It was August 16th to 29th, so it took up roughly half the month where potentially you wouldn't have hotel visits during that time. And then the Hearst Castle obviously closed during that time as well. So this is meant to be strictly an example of some of the infographics, or a format that we can provide some data for the TBID groups if you find this useful. If not, we can obviously do some tweaks to that, provide some different data, some different analytics as well. So hopefully you find it useful, and that's all I've got unless you've got some other good questions.
I have a question. On the average daily rate, how does that compare to the other coastal cities?
That is a great question, and I don't have that data in front of me. That's something I can look into, though.
Also, on the average daily rate, does that also have anything to do with, many times we have deals where we have to show a certain rate to the guests, like on Hotels Tonight, there's a certain rate, but then when we do the reporting, okay, the reporting has to be reduced because we get a net amount. So, do you understand what I'm saying, Craig? Okay, so does that have anything to do with that? So is our average daily rate really higher? Do you see what I'm saying? So, for example, if I have a room at $100 on Hotels Tonight, but I only get paid, and say I'm putting it out at 20%, $80, the guest is paying $100, which is should go on the average daily rate, but I'm only showing $80 because of the taxes I'm paying.
So the average daily rate that we calculate there is based on actual receipts from us that's reported by the hotels. So it's just actual numbers. It doesn't have anything to do with if it's posted on different websites or what rates, things like that. Exactly. So it's actual receipts.
Right. So here's the question about that. So my first question was, how does that compare to other cities? If we're at 151 when, let's say when it all breaks down, we're really at 171 out to the public on an average daily rate, how does that compare? Anyway, I'm just curious.
No, I can simply reiterate, we can look at those figures and see if we can work with Jen on looking into some other numbers that have been posted or available
I was
information.
just curious.
So.
The most important one is, how does this compare to other coastal cities?
Jane, if I may, at the county level, Visit SLO County, they do send out reports on a monthly basis. They've actually been, part of that is a breakdown of what the different towns have been reporting in, since we do have full county data. In that, you'll see a breakdown, not only just North Coastal, but also individual cities. And so log on to the Visit SLO County website. I can also forward you the link. That information is in there. It's abundantly available, and it does help us compare and contrast. And since you bring that up, maybe as a board, we want to funnel that data into our TOT report for next month to give us an idea of how we do compare. I know there are small cultural differences in how Morro Bay will perform as opposed to Cambria and San Simeon. Could be a great extra slide to throw in there, just giving us all information.
So let me just bring up conceptually how we deal with this, because the report online, it's technical. It still needs to stay the way it is, Craig, showing year over year and all of the details, with RV parks and everybody involved.
Right.
But these things that you're talking about, I don't know that they would be warranted as part of that document. Are they just for our TBID putting together our infographic, or are you looking for it to be on the city site as well?
I think more for us as a board to just understand how we are in our competitive set. I know that sometimes we will lose guests to Cambria and vice versa. And Jen, I can forward you that information, or you probably have access to it as well. Maybe even just cut and paste the one-page PDF slide, drop it in here, and it's just something we can glance at to continue to facilitate conversation and thought. We may notice that their ADR is up, but their occupancy is down in, say, Cambria versus us, and just gives us perspective and possibly guidance to give to our constituents within the community.
I
Just a
also
thought.
think that it'll give us guidance for marketing.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
So I think that's where I'm going with this. If our deals that we have on our page are too high, people aren't going to come here anyway.
Right.
So we're not going to know that unless we really have a good handle on what our competitors are selling at.
Where are we at within the market share? Seems reasonable.
Not a problem.
Great.
And one further comment to what Jane said is that, what the published rate is, that's true. I would love to do that. But I don't see how there would be any way that the county could collect that other than you'd have to crawl all the sites and every day. It's just impossible to get that. So I think what we would have to assume is that the other communities are doing the same thing. They're putting the same percentage of rooms out on those sites.
I agree. As long as we're
taking
comparing
that
apples to apples, receipts to receipts, then we know where we're at in perspective to the rest of the county. Charlie, do you have any thoughts or comments?
I just know that there's an opportunity to glean this information out of the VCB. It's a super information they have already. I think that it makes a lot of sense for us to do it. One of the things also, I like the infographics. It's all the rage now, is putting up infographics. So I just think this is a really nice thing for us and for our constituents to be able to get some really clear, right in your face data, and having the information about the valley and what other things were happening in the sector. I think is really important. So good work.
Anything else you want to add on this report?
It's a nice touch about the weather. I have to compliment you. It's a very good consideration. I'm sure, why don't we as a board, we'll brainstorm after hours and just send emails to you and possibly build this out. I think we could give greater consideration to this portion of our agenda every month.
And I think this will be something after it's published at this meeting that I'll email out to all the hoteliers as well.
Brilliant.
So one last thing, if I might. Jen had previously mentioned the potential for switching when these meetings occur. So as I mentioned, we don't get this data finalized until the 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th of that month from the trailing 2 months. So if those meetings are carried out a little bit later in the month versus the second Thursday?
Second Thursdays.
That might give us a little more time to manipulate the data and get in a little more user-friendly format as well. So.
Okay, so the data could be a bit more current.
Sure.
How pressed were you, frankly, to get this data to us? Today's the 10th.
Yeah, I had this finalized at about 8 o'clock on Monday night, put it draft together Tuesday morning, and Jen and I worked it yesterday.
And to meet the 48-hour deadline. I do see what you're saying then.
Yep.
I know in the past we had not discussed this a tremendous amount. That's one of the things that all of us had discussed, is focusing more on the TOT analysis and so forth. So as a board, I think we should discuss right now, would there be an appetite for moving this meeting back a week or two within each month? Charlie, do you have thoughts on that?
No problem.
Maggie?
No problem.
Jane?
Well, for me, because I work my front desk, I schedule appointments, doctor's appointments and stuff like that during times when I don't have this meeting. So to rearrange those, I may have a problem. But I'm not on the board after January anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
But you guys decide.
We could even take a month or two to transition to a different week, maybe wait through the holidays since this has been relatively scheduled, and look at in January at that point, pushing it around.
It's not that easy to move, to be honest,
Is it
because
not?
this room is pretty well scheduled. So it's going to depend on if we can find anything available. And we try to keep it close to the council meeting. So if we have to get something recommended here to go to council. The other thing is I was looking at recommending to do it in the afternoon, Jane, or in the evening, because hotels are owner-operator and trying to get away from check-in, check-out times. That was more my concern. I know Craig has an issue, but I was really thinking about more getting hoteliers here and having better participation. But we're way off subject, so.
We are. Yeah, we're definitely digressing, but
Can I ask-
let's continue this via email and see if we can find a better schedule. All right?
I have one more question about this, and you don't even have to answer it, but if there's a situation of chargebacks or stuff like that that affects previous months,
TOT reporting?
Right,
Okay.
TOT reporting, does that just go into just the overall for the year end? Is it adjusted, is what I want to know.
Yes, if there was something where there was a correction, and we'd go in and actually make a journal entry correction in there. Actually, Jen, if you go back a couple slides, I don't know why I'm going to point this out because it's so small. The data there is next to impossible to see, but there was a note on the very lower right. So the bottom section was out of 2015. We'll show there's a journal entry correction because there was an issue like that or a chargeback or something like that. So every month when we go in and update this, it's not just that actual month we're updating. If there are corrections to other months or other years, then we'll do that as well. So.
Jane, what we do is when we have a chargeback, and we seem to have too many these days, when we have a chargeback, we post it in the system, and then it goes through our accounting, which basically sends the information to the city. So we reduce that TOT by that chargeback amount, and it's documented. So.
No, I know. I just wanted to know if it was recorded.
I got you.
And it is. So great question, Jane. Fantastic answer, Craig. If there is no further discussion on Craig's portion and the TOT, do we have any more discussion, board? Is there any public comment on the TOT presentation? Seeing no public comment, this is a receive and file portion of our agenda. We will now move on to the next item, item 4, which is a presentation from Scott Graham, the Director of Community Development, regarding vacation rentals. Take it away, Scott.
All right, thank you, Aaron. So my presentation this morning will focus on vacation rentals, kind of how they operate, and then the moratorium that was imposed on them a few months ago. And then we'll wrap up with a brief discussion on vacation rentals and the TBID and why vacation rentals are not part of the TBID at this point. So moving forward, it's probably important to identify what a vacation rental is, and so that's the definition on the screen that's out of our municipal code. It's housed in Chapter 5 of the municipal code, and it says short-term vacation rental is defined as the rental of any structure or any portion of any structure for occupancy for dwelling, lodging, or sleeping purposes for 30 consecutive days or less in duration, including detached single-family residences, condominiums, duplexes, twinplexes, townhomes, and multifamily dwellings. And then it says short-term vacation rental is included in the definition of a hotel for purposes of collecting transient occupancy tax, which is the section of our municipal code housed in Chapter 3. So basically, it's any dwelling unit that's rented for 30 days or less would fall into the category of a vacation rental. Our permitting or licensing process takes place through our Administrative Services Department, so Craig's department. So applications are provided there, and they're renewed annually. There are restrictions that go along with them. A few of them are at the bottom of the screen there, that they cannot create unreasonable noise or disturbance. If there's a notification to the person that's operating the vacation rental that there is a disturbance, they're required to respond within 4 hours. And they're also required to post a copy of the permit/license on premises in the vacation rental. There's also an exterior posting requirement. It includes a contact name and phone number. It has to be located in plain public view, so really from the right-of-way typically it would be in the front of the house facing outward. And then it would include a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week contact person. And again, any calls to that contact person are required to be responded to within 4 hours. And then certainly if we're getting a response there, then folks should be calling the police department if it's off hours, or code enforcement if it's hours when we're during operation 8 to 5 during the week. We do have a violation process that's written into this section as well, and there's 4 steps to it. The first would be we receive a complaint, and then we would send out a written warning if it was justified. If you received a second violation for the same address within a 12-month period, we would issue a fine in the amount of $250. If there was a third violation in a 12-month period, the fine doubles, so raises to $500. And then if there's a fourth violation, we move to revoke the permit, vacation rental license, for a minimum period of 1 year. So as you're probably mostly aware, the city implemented a moratorium on vacation rentals and placed a cap on them of $250. That discussion started back in May of this year. The council requested and agendized the item for discussion. They made a determination at that meeting that we did not have adequate regulations for vacation rentals to again adequately protect our residential neighborhoods from the negative impacts that are potentially there for vacation rentals and how they operate within neighborhoods. I think mostly it was in reference to the concentration issue. You can get several of them on we have some fairly small streets in North Morro Bay, and you can get several of them on a street that maybe only has 10 houses. And so now your street's not really functioning like a residential neighborhood, but instead is now functioning more like a transient, or commercial business type environment. So council provided direction at that May meeting, and they said bring back for consideration a moratorium and placing a cap on the number of vacation rentals at 250. And then please consider an update of our vacation rental policies as part of the ongoing update for the general plan and local coastal program, which also includes an update of the zoning code. They also suggested that we take a look at, implementing regulations for parking, location of vacation rentals, total number perhaps, and look at distances between requirements. Those are similar to things that you find in the county, say for Cayucas or Los Osos. They have distance requirements for vacation rentals. So we returned as directed by the council in June, where they adopted Ordinance 604. That implemented a 45-day moratorium and allowed us to work through the longer moratorium process, which we returned to the council on July 12th through Urgency Ordinance 605 and extended that moratorium for 22 months and 15 days. So that expires on June 14th, 2018. We are supposed to be done with our general plan update by December of 2017, although that might actually extend a little bit because we got some additional grant funding back in August to do some more work. And so that might actually, for the zoning code portion of it where this would be housed, extend maybe 2 or 3 months into 2018. But regardless, would be done before the expiration of the moratorium in June of 2018. Current status of this, so when we started the moratorium discussion in May, we had 170 approximately vacation rentals. After implementing the moratorium through June and July, we hit mid-September and we hit the 250 cap. We created an artificial market. Folks flooded us with applications, and so we're at the cap. We now, any application that comes in now ends up being placed on a waiting list. We do have an ongoing issue here that several folks submitted applications and are not using them as vacation rentals, so we're dealing with that internally right now. We had a conversation with the Coastal Commission. We drove up to the Coastal Commission office in Santa Cruz in mid-October to have a conversation with them regarding the update of the general plan and LCP. One of the items I touched on at that meeting was vacation rentals and their acceptance or not of whether we could prohibit them in residential zones. I already kind of knew the answer going in because I tried to do this when I was in Pismo and was unsuccessful. But they said, no, we're not going to allow you to prohibit them in residential zones. They're visitor serving accommodations. Our job is to encourage those, so you can't do that. But feel free to regulate them. And gave us a couple of examples of recently adopted ordinances that the Coastal Commission found acceptable, and sort of that's the guidance that we're taking forward in future development of policies to better regulate them in Morro Bay. And again, we're in the middle of our general plan update process, and we're just now starting the land use discussion. In fact, our last meeting in October, third week, we started, kind of dipped our toe in the water of land use. This is going to continue next week at our general plan advisory committee meeting on the 17th. Where we have some additional discussions on land use. Right now, we're in the process of rectifying our land use maps for our general plan and our zoning code, getting them so they align so we can determine, what our zones are, where they're at, and whether they need to be altered and fixed to reflect what's out there in the world versus what we thought was going to happen back in the 80s when we adopted the maps originally. I mean, we're almost 30 years down the road now. Things have changed. So this jumps into the last portion of the presentation and a discussion of vacation rentals and the TBID, and really why vacation rentals are not part of the TBID at this point. We started off the TBID discussion back in 2006, from what I can tell, and that discussion really came out of the SLO County's Visitor and Conference Bureau effort to form the countywide TBID. The city passed an ordinance supporting that and saying that we're interested in being a part of that. That whole effort was led by the hotel or hotelier industry. The county had a slow go on getting that implemented back then, and so we revisited it in 2009, and the city council said, well, we're not getting too far down the road with this, so maybe we'll form our own bid, and that was really at the behest of the hoteliers. And so the city went down that road and directed staff to bring back the process for implementing a bid for the city of Morro Bay. I'm going to take a little jaunt to the side here, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's involved in creating a bid. So to start off with, this is kind of a shallow dive. I mean, you can get pretty deep into what it takes to form a bid, but this is sort of the basic steps. So you have a petition. So business owners petition the governing agency or the city to establish a bid on their behalf, and that's oftentimes created through a steering committee, which is, I don't know if it was officially called the steering committee, but there was a committee of hoteliers that came forward, at least in the looking through the record, that appeared to be what happened, with a desire to form the bid in Morro Bay. If the city finds that effort to be valid, and it seems like there's most of the hoteliers are interested in that, then you can go to the next step, which is the adoption of a resolution of intention. That resolution of intention signals the intent to form the bid and to levy the assessment. And so also involves the opportunity for folks that would be impacted by the assessment or affected by it to voice their support or opposition. You then follow that up with a public meeting, not a public hearing. It's a separate process where you take public testimony on the overall concept. You then send out notifications and publications to the affected business owners in the area where your bid's going to be. For this and for the case of City of Morro Bay, the bid encompasses the entirety of the city, which makes sense because we have hotels everywhere within town, so it didn't make sense to really draw a map to show where it was going to be. And so you mail out that resolution of intention to all affected business owners within 7 days of the city council's adoption of the notice of intent. You also put that notice in the paper 7 days, within 7 days of the adoption of the notice of intent. And then you move to the next phase, which is the public hearing phase. That has to take place 45 days after adoption of the resolution of intention. And this allows for the protest vote to take place. And protest vote is really for a protest to be successful, properties that represent 50% or more of the assessment total must oppose the district. If you don't have that 50%, you don't meet that 50% mark, then the city can go forward, city council can go forward with adoption of the ordinance to create the bid. And so that's the process that was followed in creation of the bid that we now have. Again, when we were going through this process, it was the hoteliers that were petitioning for the TBID, and it was the hoteliers that requested that vacation rentals not be a part. Vacation rentals and campgrounds. We can talk about that some more in a minute. So the why of it was, from the record, is that it would take time to pull them, and there wasn't a lot of the vacation rental folks involved in the discussion, and it seemed to me that the hoteliers wanted to strike while the iron was hot, meaning there was a lot of interest at the time and they wanted to move forward. There was also some concern through the record that vacation rentals would have had bookings and it might affect the prices that were being charged and the bookings that they already had, so they thought, maybe we can bring the vacation rentals into the fold later. And to date, that hasn't happened. But that was sort of what I took from looking through the record and reviewing the staff reports that were accompanying the process as it unfolded. That's the end of my presentation. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I just want to say one thing. Thank you for that. That was a great overview. Just from being part of that way back when, the situation was that we had to have X amount of percentage approved, and it was the RVs and vacation rentals. And both of those entities were against it. So for us to go forward, we just said, fine, we'll just go forward because we needed money to market, and we weren't getting it. So that was the whole reason why they weren't part of it. They also didn't have the numbers then. So it's a whole new ballgame today.
And that is somewhat reflected in the record. It appeared that the city at the time, or the group of hoteliers that were sort of leading the charge here, hadn't engaged all of I think the vacation rental owners and the operators were sort of dispersed, and so we didn't have a lot of contact with a lot of them, and the ones that we did were fairly vocal. And so it seemed like that was going to be a much more difficult task to overcome, to get in contact with all those folks that were operating them, because they were dispersed all over the place. Some of them were in the valley, some of them were local, some of them were individual operators. And I think what I took away from the conversation, looking through minutes and things like that, was it just seemed like it was going to take a lot longer than the hotel industry was willing to wait for. And they said, let's just do this now. We seem to have support. Let's go. And then we can see what it looks like to include those later. And that effort doesn't seem to have taken place. I mean, I haven't been here that long, so I don't know that it has or hasn't, but it doesn't seem like it has. So.
So now that the bid is in place, how does it get approved on an annual basis? Going forward, like once it was stipulated, every year do the hoteliers vote again to
Yeah, we schedule the
approve it and go forward?
protest bid, because you can at any time choose not to be part of it. You can get a 50% protest vote, and that would dissolve the bid. Once a year,
Once a
exactly.
year.
Bring it back
Okay,
to
and
annual.
at that point, is it up for discussion, the amount, or is that set? Will it always be, is it set at 3%? Or could someone bring forward, or would it have to be a whole new bid that would be established if you change that amount?
It can be changed.
It can be
The
changed
amount can be
at
changed.
that.
It can be raised and lowered.
Yeah, this board can make its own recommendations, and then it's brought to the city, and the city can decide what to do with the recommendation from this board.
Okay.
For example, we could increase it to 4%, but we can't without city approval, or decrease it, or the city can just arbitrarily increase TOT, and then we can sit there and say, how is that going to affect our hoteliers?
Yeah.
And then make a recommendation to go lower or higher in our T-bid.
Okay. And the reason for my question is that once you bring in, if it should move forward and you try to bring in these other groups, the vacation rentals and the RV parks, and I would assume that if you do open this up, you are looking at both of those, right?
I don't know why we wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the normal way that you go about doing this.
Right.
I have a
right.
question. Why is it that the city could approve permits for vacation rentals without the requirement of them joining the T-bid?
Because vacation rentals are not part of the T-bid.
Yeah.
It's not part of the bid. I mean, it's
No,
not
no,
even a consideration.
I understand that.
Okay.
But couldn't the city do something when they approve permits
No?
to require certain things, even if it's not part of this T-bid, but establishing another bid, or no?
The city cannot force a bid.
Okay.
The city will not force a bid. It has to come from the outside. That's why that petition piece that I talk about at the top is important. That petition is the outside folks wanting to form that group. It could be a business improvement district. That's usually what they are, right? This comes out of highway code and usually, originally involved street improvements in areas of towns, and then it sort of morphed, and this is one of the more interesting things, is a tourism business improvement district that's come out of it. But it usually is local folks in a given area that want to, form the bid to do some sort of improvement to enhance, typically in commercial areas, what it looks like in those areas and those types of things.
So I have one other question, then I promise I'll be quiet. So, but they could increase a permit fee for vacation rentals to $2,500 or $5,000 a year, and the city could then decide, what to do with that money themselves.
The city sets fees, so it sets
Exactly.
fees for all types
Okay,
of things.
thank you.
So could it? Yes. Would it? Unlikely.
Well, it also would weed out who's, doing vacation rentals and not, and
So vacation rentals, just a little bit of information, operate oftentimes quite a bit differently than hotels, because hotels operate year-round. A lot of our vacation rentals don't. They'll operate during the peak season, and that's it. Not all of them. Some of them operate year-round, and and that's fine. But a lot of them don't. They'll be in it for 4 or 6 months, and that's all they do. And then they're quiet until it comes back around to the busy season. So, and there's a lot of them that are like that. So anyway.
Scott, could you compare and contrast for us? Now, I know we're discussing the 3% TPID dollars, but versus TOT dollars and the city permitting process. Is there a distinction in there? Since that's not a self-imposed assessment, how does the city feel about TOT to vacation rentals?
Vacation rentals pay TOT.
They do pay in the
They do. They pay the 10%.
100% on everything.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay, so it's just a discussion about TBID dollars then.
It is, yeah. It was interesting when I heard that, there was some concern on the part of the board, that, the city should bring them in. I'm like, the city doesn't have the ability to do that.
Right.
It really has to be, it would be the bid forming a group and going out there and saying, hey, this is why you should come with us. You get this type of benefit out of doing that, and seeing if you can't generate the support from those folks. We have the contact information for all of them because they're registered. And then if you got that to bring it forward, that's what you would bring forward as a recommendation to council, that we'd like to include now RV parks and vacation rentals, and we seem to have the support from those folks, and you'd give letters of support or however you wanted to justify that. And then the city could make that decision and bring that forward when they renew it the next time. So
Now, if those vacation rentals are already paying the TOT, it seems like they're somewhat acclimated to the pay-in process, so it's not entirely foreign to them if we were to bring this, and it's not like it's a new level of paperwork altogether, it's just an additional percentage, and they get representation
exactly.
from a marketing point of view.
And as you know,
Okay.
we also pay into the county.
Sure, of
Vacation
course.
rentals
Yeah.
pay into the county.
Of course.
So one of the other things, though, my concern was that you have 250 permitted vacation rentals, Airbnbs, or whatever, okay? Regardless of whether they're operating 4 months out of the year or 6 months out of the year, their growth in TOT is much higher than all the hotels. Furthermore, you've got an average room there of 2 to 2.5 bedrooms, okay? So we have 916 hotel rooms. You have over 500 rooms in vacation rentals. Because of their growth, it is impacting the occupancy and the average daily rate on the hotels. People have options, which I have it too when I travel. So the point is, we are advertising for people to come to Morro Bay. Their choice is more and more going to vacation rentals, as you can see from the growth of the TOT percentage-wise on vacation rentals. So my thing is, why can't they also pay? So I understand that we can't bring them in, but there has to be something, I don't know how to handle it really without disbanding this TBID and reforming a TBID that will be inclusive to everybody. That's basically all that can be done.
Well, I don't know that I agree with that. I think that the TBID has a lot to offer. I mean, clearly it has enough to offer the hotels that they're interested in being a part of it. Because if they weren't interested in being a part of it, we wouldn't have it. So it brings a lot to the table. I just think perhaps that hasn't been conveyed as to what that is, what you're bringing to the table and what all the benefits of the TBID are. I don't think that's been brought forward to RV campground type folks and the vacation rental folks. I don't see where the city's had a concerted effort to engage them since the TBID was formed originally. I mean, I could be wrong. Yeah, I've only been here for 2.5 years, and maybe we did this and tried it one time after we formed the TBID, and it just didn't go anywhere, and so everybody was like, we're not doing it. But I haven't seen that. I don't see that in the record anywhere, and no one's come forward and told me that. So it seems like maybe it's just we talked about maybe bringing them in later, and we haven't done that. And so maybe it just involves outreach, really, and an informational campaign. I don't know.
Also, there's 2 different TBID laws. We're under the 1-year law right now. There's also a 5-year law that does include vacation rentals as part of it.
So
I don't understand.
oh, I'm sorry. Did you,
We've had to change the
Yeah.
1982.
we are the
Yeah.
We're the 1989, I believe, is the act for this BID, which means that it's a self-assessment that has to be reassessed every 12 months.
Yep.
There's another act, I want to say it's the 1992 act, that is every 5 years. And the nice thing there is it gives that board and that BID really legs to continue to move forward and push more aggressive agendas. For whatever reason, in the past, they chose to go with the 1989. None of us were there, I don't believe. But my understanding, it's easier to form an 89 district as opposed to the 1992. So these are great conversations. I have a feeling we're all sort of preaching to the choir here. I think we would love to bring vacation rentals and RV parks into the fold and at the BID.
Not all of us.
Excuse me? I'm sorry.
Not all of us.
I'm sorry, Maggie. Do you have a thought to the contrary then on why, since we're trying to have an open discussion, we have Scott here, you're saying not all of us in the board?
Sorry. As you know, the primary part of my business is vacation rentals.
Right.
And I look at, I can't say I'm opposed to it. I would have to really understand what value it brings to us. The growth, there are lots of people that benefit from our advertising, what we fund. The merchants do, the gas stations do, everywhere. everybody is benefiting from it, and they're not getting taxed. So we're writing all of this on the back of the overnight guest. And yet I see us fund a lot of things that I don't think bring overnight guests. So if you're going to talk about trying to push the tax or the assessment out to the people who benefit it, that's a whole different story. I know, Jane points out the growth of vacation rentals. I just came back from a vacation rental professional conference where it's happening worldwide. People prefer that kind of accommodation. It's what allows families to come together if you're in 4 separate hotel rooms. So to look at that growth and say that's coming to vacation rentals on the back of the bid, I disagree. It's coming, I think most of it is attributed to the popularity and people becoming familiar with vacation rentals. And I just, another 3% on top of what we have to charge our customers anyway, it hurts. I don't like it that the hotelers have to pay it. And I realize I'm here to govern that money, but and that was why I was asking the question, Scott, about whether or not the amount be reduced, because we pay the 10% TOT, we got assessed the 1% for the county, and as everybody did, if we're going to bring in the other groups of vacation rentals and the RV parks, then I think we need to relook and say, is it still 3%, or when you bring in that money, does it become 2%? And what are we doing with that money that brings benefit to our overnight guests? So that's.
Can I ask the chair if he can open this to public comment, because Joan Solu is here. She was instrumental in forming the bid in starting then, but 2009, at least we started that, and before. And she's got not only history, but she can also address the benefits for everybody. And, and everything you said is valid, and I agree with you. I also know, just on a side note, New York just banned Airbnb, and Palm Springs also just limited them to commercial zones because they want to protect their hotels, because of the money the hotels bring into a city on the streets and everything else. So I just want to say that. But is that okay if we open that up and ask Joan?
Absolutely. Public comment is on the agenda for this. Ms. Solu, at the encouragement, it sounds like, of Ms. Beeman, do you have public comment, or are you just observing? No pressure.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Jane. I would note that while I appreciate the staff putting together information and that you're talking on this, I'm totally unprepared to speak. But there is an error right there on that slide, and the main error on that slide is the petition. The information regarding the petition says hoteliers petitioning for the TBID requested that vacation rentals not be included. That's it's erroneous. What occurred was we stepped forward together as the entire lodging industry to petition the City Council to move forward with a 3% bid. There were about 3 vacation rentals that came out and protested, and there were 2 owners of RV parks that protested. And the group, basically the City Council, and I'm paraphrasing, said something to the effect of, if this is, they don't want to do it, so we don't want to have them do it. They didn't realize that there were about 200 vacation rentals in town, and 3% was a minimal number of them. And they didn't understand. It was really kind of, how do I say this? This was really outside of the box at the time for Morro Bay. You have to understand that doing this, there were only about 25 of these in the entire state and about 40 of them across the nation. So Morro Bay was really, we stepped up on this, and they were nervous. and rightfully nervous. So they pulled back and said, hey, vacation rentals, they don't want to do it. RV parks, they don't want to do it. So they didn't include campgrounds and RV parks in it. That's how those got excluded. Also, regarding your vacation rental, I'm going to say this, and this is a question for city staff to look at. I'm not even sure that it's legally being assessed. Under the ordinance says hotels, motels, and bed and breakfasts. I'm not sure how your vacation rental ever got in there, just so you know. And finally, I would say that, I'm not sure how you're zoned. Are you zoned? Well, that you can look at. Whether you're zoned and permitted as a vacation rental or zoned and permitted as a hotel, I'm not sure. So you are zoned and permitted as a hotel, then you are being assessed, okay? Because I wasn't sure how that was being done. The other thing is, in terms of vacation rentals, I've talked to a lot of hoteliers this year. The vacation rentals are seeing a large increase. Since 2009, vacation rental receipts have doubled. They have seen benefit from the compression from marketing that has been put on this community. And when we talk about people are booking hotels in Morro Bay, people are booking vacation rentals in Morro Bay, look at the rate that up to this year, hotel occupancy has increased since the TBID has been put in. And there are many months where there are no room in the inn, and so people go to vacation rentals, meaning to say we're sold out. And so now they move into vacation rentals. So vacation rentals are benefiting. I've talked to a few hoteliers who want to see them this year. If this is going to be approved this year, the TBID again this year, and we don't see that 10% gain in occupancy and revenue that the hoteliers have stood up and put as a mark for the board, for the board to meet, then what they'd like to see is vacation rentals, RV parks included, and a reduction to 2%, so that it essentially it equalizes the monetary input so that there's still a level amount of money for marketing, and then we can compress the entire lodging industry together. So it would be more like everyone's in the basket. So thank you.
Thank you very much for that public comment, Joan, and we realize you were unprepared, but as usual, able to step up to the mic and give valuable input. So to push this agenda forward at the moment then, there's nothing to do. It's a report from Scott. No, I understand, but we've had great discussion right now. I think we should continue this discussion also via email to Jen and to Scott on what the community wants to do, and maybe start a bit of an outreach program and have a discussion with the vacation rental owners and perhaps dip our toe in the water and get a feel for the benefits that they would receive and kind of continue this conversation, or put the conversation to bed perhaps.
I have one other question. Hasn't somebody been hired by the city to investigate the permitted and the unpermitted Airbnbs and VRBOs? Or no?
Well, we have code enforcement folks, and so as we receive complaints about ones that are unlicensed, we go and investigate those. I'll tell you this, we don't get a lot of vacation rental complaints. Most of the complaints that we do get that people think are vacation rentals are not vacation rentals. There's people second homes that their family's staying in, and Uncle Charlie's going a little crazy on the weekend, and playing the music loud and what have you. That's usually what they turn out to be. I would say probably 70% of the complaints that we get, because we probably have 17% of our housing stock, are second homes for folks. That's usually what the complaint ends up being. Then there's about 30% that end up being vacation rentals where they're not following the rules. They've taken down the posting on the front that says, this is the person you're supposed to contact. That becomes a problem. We usually go, the first thing we do is go out there and see if that's up, because it's better if the neighborhood knows who they're supposed to contact so they can call that person. Usually folks that manage vacation rentals don't want to see rowdy folks in the house, and they're usually, their response is pretty quick. And then they won't rent back to those folks if they become a problem. I mean, that's my experience, not just here for the conscientious, management companies that manage vacation rentals, but also when I was in Pismo. They were on it, and they didn't like guests that came that were a problem. And so that's kind of what my experience has been to date with that.
I just want to say that as a lark before this meeting, I went on Homes to Go, VRBOs, and Airbnbs. And there's over 300 and 3 units reported. Now, I also want to say we've got our hoteliers on there also, going out as Airbnbs or, stuff like that, just to let you know, to try to get more stuff. But be as it may, if there's no complaints, if somebody's running an illegal unit, they're doing an illegal unit. I would like to, okay, so when we declare some future items, I'd like to say something.
Perfect timing.
So we would, over time, once we get an ordinance in place, we will probably actively enforce on that. It's just right now we're a little bit in flux because the council's given us direction to go develop another ordinance. So it creates problems when you have that direction from a council and you're going down a road and someone doesn't want to comply. It ends up being kind of messy. I would also note that you'll see on the websites, oftentimes things that are referred to Morro Bay are just the Morro Bay area and will actually be Los Osos, Cayucas, whatever, fill in the blank. San Luis in some instances I've seen. So it's not exactly specifically to Morro Bay necessarily.
All right. Scott, thank you very much for your presentation. Now we have the facts directly from you on what it takes to form a BID. If we want to extend this, let's keep the conversation going. And it sounds like Jane will be posting a future agenda item. Maggie, did you have something you want to say?
Just real quick.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's related to this because I know this board is concerned about the bid. But a question to you, Scott, is I'm also very interested in what the regulations, and I know you guys are still evolving that, but kind of the order of things. Would you try to get the regulations in place? Because that could end up making some of the vacation rentals go away. I don't know how you're going to do it, like Cayucas did grandfather everybody in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that's a big...
There will likely be a grandfathering component to it, and as those vacation rentals go away or discontinue, they won't be renewed.
You're right.
Because I'm pretty sure we're going to end up with something like Cayucas and Los Osos have, and that'll be a distance between units.
Yeah.
I forget which one's which, but one of them has a 200-foot radius for them, and then the other one has a 100-foot radius for them. Those are fairly common as far as vacation rental policies that have been implemented more recently throughout cities and in the county. So ours will probably look something like that, I would imagine. And just because those two locations are also in the coastal zone and require certification by the Coastal Commission, we know that at least the methodology and the policy developed in those ordinances can be approved to the Coastal Commission. So we'll be looking to start with ones like that, similar to those, as opposed to ones that are maybe in Palm Springs, as an example.
Yeah. So my point is, if we do try to bring in vacation rentals and other lodging entities, that the order of things, like it would seem to me you would want to get the regulations in place because you have a voting populace there that's going to vote whether or not they want to join the bid. And that populace could potentially change considerably if you go out and you get rid of the people who aren't actually paying TOTs, which I would encourage you to do because I know a lot of people who ran down and got their residence here. They live here full time, but they think it's going to make their property be more valuable when they sell it, which it probably will. But, so if you eliminated those people, eliminated any that might fall out, at that point, then you have the real base of people who are going to continue to be vacation rentals. So that would be my only suggestion, would be those get enforced first before we move forward on the bid.
It's a great comment and something that we're tracking literally almost verbatim for the way you described that. That's one of the ways we're looking at it, And even at a distance, we realized that a bunch of folks came in, registered, not paying TOT now, and so they did it for whatever reason, and now we have to go through because those things are supposed to be available for folks that are actually operating vacation rentals. And so we're going to be going through and working through the finance department on auditing some of those things and trying to figure out what that is in the interim period while we're developing the ordinance. So.
Thank you, Scott. Is there any further public comment? 3, 2, 1.
Second bite at the apple.
Go right ahead.
So it's Joan Solu. I would just encourage you to continue further with this conversation. I wouldn't table it, Aaron.
No.
Guys, I would continue further with this conversation. The reason why I'm saying that to you is because this is your November meeting. December, you're 6 months into this year. In January, you'll have a mid-year budget review to see exactly where you are on your revenue and get your finger dipped into the water to see how the hoteliers feel. If there's going to be a change in the ordinance at all, What you need to look at is the date when we have the date when our ordinance opens up, and that's in May. You need to work backwards in a timeline on that and look at the amount of the window you would have if you wanted to increase or reduce the amount of businesses that are being assessed, or if you wanted to increase or decrease the percentage that the bid was being assessed. Therefore, if I were in your position, I would place this as an agenda item for an in-depth discussion with a full staff report in December. And in January, I would be looking at the revenue to bring those two things together. And then in February, I would be making a recommendation to the City Council on what direction you want to go. Because that leaves March to get out there and do the work of speaking with the vacation rentals and the RV parks or whoever it is that staff would need to speak with. That would leave March, April, and May, depending on what direction the City Council would vote on your recommendation. And it would leave May for the hoteliers to decide, depending on what direction the City Council would go with your recommendation, whether or not they want to support this mechanism. Just a thought.
Thank you very much, Joan. Awesome comments.
Hey, a little
Erica.
off top. So Erica, Chamber of Commerce, some feedback that I've gotten from some of our real estate members in our chamber. They're very interested in the use it or lose it clause that you were talking about, Scott, with if you're registering for vacation rental and you're not using it within a set period of days, it goes away. I encourage you to look at Pacific Grove at some of their similarly sized community. Their vacation rental, the topic of vacation rentals has come up in front of their city council 17 times. And I wanted some clarity from you, Scott. Are permits, once a vacation rental permit is pulled and paid for, is that attached to the home or to the homeowner? And if that home is then sold, like what you were saying, Maggie, how does that actually increase the value of that property because it's attached to the home, or does it go away because the homeowner is selling the home?
So,
I'm going to sit down.
is it okay if I answer?
No, absolutely, Scott. Dialogue.
So that's a great question.
That's a very good question.
We put the moratorium in place and then had to deal with that directly like a couple of weeks later. And so I had to come up with the policy, as what we're doing with that. And so we said, we would transfer the vacation rental to the new owner. We were okay with that, but you needed to come in within 2 weeks of transfer. And if you didn't, then it was going to go away. Like if you came back 6 months later, we were going to, that vacation rental slot was going to have moved on to someone else. And so that's the way the policy is written now. I mean, this is all interim because we're going to have an ordinance eventually that tells us what we're doing here. But right now we thought people actively had houses for sale, and it probably wasn't appropriate for us to yank the carpet out from underneath them. And so we allowed them to transfer as properties sold, but they needed to do it quickly. And so that information we've been putting out there to the real estate folks in town and whatnot. So.
And just FYI, and you probably know this, Scott, like in Cayucas, it does go with the property. Mm-hmm. Now, even, you were saying we might be modeling our long-term regulations around those because Coastal Commission has approved that, and that is the case in Cayucas.
Actually, where I went to look was for there in Los Osos, what their policies were. When somebody asked, I was like, what's everybody else doing? At least right in our area, so we're consistent. And so one of the reasons we came out that way. Yeah.
Thank you, Scott. Great discussion, board. Thank you very much for the public comment. Seeing no further discussion on this item, we are going to aggressively pursue forward with this, and we will mention that in a future agenda item. Now we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is line 6, a search engine optimization contract overview and options with Jennifer Little. Now to complement Jen's presentation, she did include a staff report as well as an estimate and a brief overview from 2 companies looking at handling the service for us. And that is included in your agenda packets. Scott, thank you very much for your presentation today.
Okay. That was a good discussion. So we're going to talk a little bit about the SEO option of getting this into our contract. This is not currently part of the metal marketing contract. Oh, it didn't. Hold on. I'm going to try to get that back up on the PowerPoint. just give him a second to get that running. It's okay, I got it. Yeah. Okay, try that again. So you have a staff report in your packet about 2 options for doing an SEO contract. Like I said, it's not part of the current mental marketing contract. I think what we should do is go through these 2 options, and then I also want to talk about the marketing overview, because there's a lot of stuff in that overview that'll show you how things are growing even without it. So I think the option of getting an SEO package on top of this should really help our business overall. So there's 2 different options that have been presented to us. One is with Mental Marketing. They have a gentleman, so actually I think he's a contractor. He's not an actual staff person at Mental Marketing. He's somebody that's contracted through Mental Marketing. That's how they work with most of their affiliates. And he has a really long-standing relationship and building with internet and doing all different websites. And they gave me some specific, you see the bullets up here, that he's been a leading strategist and developer since really the internet started nationwide and worldwide, and he's done a lot with it. And he's developed teams delivering leading edge websites, which is great. He's created groundbreaking websites, and then they talked about some of the magazines that he's been featured in, which is nice, but they didn't give me any physical websites that he actually built the SEO in. So I don't have that from them for whatever reason. But they did have a lot of articles that he's been talked about. And then on the page 2, they gave me some different sites that he's actually done the development and built the sites and done the SEO on. These are very large sites, Universal Music, Specialized Bicycles, CBS Radio, very, very large businesses, not tourism related. What he does have is he knows Moby Manage. So our website is built on Moby Manage, which is, it was on WordPress, and I believe about a year or so ago it was moved over to Moby Manage, which is the new platform that it's on. It's working fairly well, and Scott does know that platform, which is, I think, the benefit to what he has. So that is one thing I did want to mention about him. And then going into the other option is a gentleman that's local here. He's actually in Pismo Beach, and he's been here forever. I know he's been involved with Morro Bay a long time ago. And he does work with Mental Marketing, and I asked Marianne, because I wasn't sure if she wanted to. It gets a little dicey because she has relationships with these people, but she did not want to present him. She opted to present Scott, so I went ahead and also had Rick do a estimate for us individually, which is great. So it gave us 2 different options. And he gave a very finite, if you look at his, he gave like a 4-page outline proposal, and it's very detailed on all of the items that he would do as far as step-by-step going through and building the SEO and really auditing it. And I liked that he gave so much detail on it and that it was direct from him, not through a third party. And the other thing that I wanted to show you is, so he's built a lot of sites. I know he built Jane's, or he does the SEO. I don't know if he built it, but he does the SEO for you right now. And he handles a lot of sites here locally. He does Avila Beach, Discover Highway 1, the site for Pismo Beach. A lot of local, all tourism-based sites, which to me speaks very loudly, that he understands our business, understands what you need to really target for SEO for our specific target market. So that's what I really liked about his options. This first page that I have up on there, it's got the website for Discover Highway 1 creatively. I don't like the look, but he's not doing creative. This would strictly be about SEO. And then on the right side, I just did a quick search on this topic, and he comes up with like the first 2 pages full are all his links. So that's really strong. That's good data for us to look at. And then the other one that he does is Pismo Beach. I want to say Pacific Beach. I'm looking at Charlie thinking Pacific Beach for some reason. So that we all know is a really great site, works really well, and he's been working on Pismo Beach for a long time. So those are kind of the two different options that were presented in my staff report. Just to go back to that really quickly, both of these contracts would run about $9,000. In both cases, I asked them to preload the first 2 months with more hours because I don't want to lose momentum. I want to get this done now. It already, to me, feels like it should have been done 6 months ago or more. So I asked them to add additional hours for the first 2 months, get this really, really locked in as fast as we can, and then go ahead and just do the maintenance every month of adding the different word searches and items. So my recommendation is, I wrote it out for you on your staff report, TBID board review and affirm staff's recommendation to award a 12-month contract to Pacific Leisure Marketing effective November 10th. And he's ready to start now, but I'm totally open to thoughts and opinions about either one of these contracts from the board.
I do have a couple of questions. The first one, it sounds like he has a solid resume and has been performing well. Have you reached out and spoken to the DMOs directly and seen how responsive he is from a customer service perspective? I know that there have been issues in the past with other DMOs having problems.
I've talked with John Sorgenfries, who I've talked with, not the actual DMOs, but he uses them actively right now, and he's very happy with them.
Okay, so this gentleman's name is Rick. So Rick is responsive to emails, requests, and changes?
Correct.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, and so Jennifer, as I was reading the proposal from Mental Marketing, they have a statement in their opening paragraph. Since the site is used for timely promotional marketing pages, it is important to ensure that proper tagging is set for new events. And I know you guys do a lot of updating. And as I looked at the proposal from Pacific Leisure, he just describes, I liked how detailed he was and everything he's going to do. And he says for months 3 through 12, spend up to 10 hours. These hours will be focused on building toward the goal, blah, blah, blah. My thing is, and that was kind of the question I was asking you before, is how is he going to work? Is it, you feel like it'll be smooth, him working with Mental Marketing and with you? Like, so if you guys are out there putting something out new, are you going to be pinging him to say, hey, we're putting this and we need to make sure it's coming up in the search for Morro Bay events? How will the 10 hours a month that he would spend, would it just be as you put this new stuff out there, or will he give you guidelines that you'll be able to follow as you're putting new content on the website? Does that make sense?
Yeah, he'll do it both ways, Maggie. There's
okay.
going to be consistent things that he'll be adding every single month, plus he'll work with, so we upload the promotions, we upload the offers or specials,
Right.
We do all that internally, and then that'll just be linked to him. Those emails will go directly to him to also do the backside of it.
Okay.
To speak to your comment about how will he work with Mental Marketing, so right now Mental uses Travis Ford, who's Rock Harbor Marketing, for all the social media, so it's really the same situation. It works really seamlessly. I've had no problems. I actually work directly with Travis as much as I work through Marianne, and I just keep the two of them in that loop with everything that we do, and it's been fine. So I don't think they're very professional. I don't think that Mental will have a problem at all.
I have a question. Who was doing our SEOs before?
I have no idea.
So we
I don't
haven't
know.
done any SEOs.
None.
Okay. So what this does is hiring somebody, no matter who it is, puts the onus on this board to really look and take responsible for marketing and make sure it's planned way in the forwards so that we can drive the SEOs that way. Right now, it's last minute. Everything's last minute, which doesn't drive the market that we need. It might drive somebody to look at our website, but not necessarily to book. So we really need to start integrating our marketing in a forward motion and keep whoever we hire with the SEOs doing that.
Well said, Jane. Excuse me. Charlie, do you have any thoughts or comments?
I just know Rick Turton for over 20 years. He's a hardworking guy. He has gained and lost a few clients in his working. He's very responsive. One of the things that I worked with him in Avila Beach and with Highway 1 Discovery route, and he's a professional. He can be difficult, like any one, but he's very workable, and he very much understands what we're looking to do. So I'm behind Pacific Leisure Marketing. Rick's a good guy. So
I just have one. You made mention, and when I just glanced at the totals on it, you said they both come out to be about $9,000 or something. I was just kind of looking at the bottom line on those, and I thought his proposal, I thought I saw like 7,000 somewhere. And when I look at what was given to us, it shows 2,500 for the mental marketing, but I now see there's a monthly fee. So I'm not sure. You'd made a comment, Jennifer, about them being about equivalent in price.
They're fairly close, Maggie. So
Okay.
what he's going to do, if we picked up a flat contract with him, he would do the 15 hours on the first 2 months, and then
Yeah.
he'd go down to 10 hours at the 65. If we didn't commit to that, then it would be the 95. So there is a variance in there that I would just
Got it.
lock in at the lower rate.
Okay.
With mental, they have, the setup fee, which is, that's fine. I mean, they're just trying to front load it as well. And then the 500 a month, I don't know that 500 a month is enough to get done what we really need to do. Rick has about 650 in there, which I'm more comfortable with as far as hours go.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have a question. What's your goal? What's the goal for you? How are you going to measure either one of these people of how, what do you want to see to make sure they're doing their job? And in the contracts, do you have an out clause if it's not happening? So what's your goal?
You have a good point. I think we should put an out clause in it so I can make sure that's in there, Jane.
Well, but you need a goal.
I
to have an out
understand. So
clause.
as far as goals go, I would like to see our growth at least 10% with him adding SEO in there. One of the interesting things, so you guys talk about promotions kind of running late. I agree. We started July 1, and there was nothing done for July. July should have been done in May. It shouldn't have been done when mental came on, but there was change of the agency. So you have this new body of people that are constantly trying to run. Now there's July, and we don't have any July promotions, and they should be working on September. So they've just had this constant snowball trying to get out. So that's the back end of it. The front end of it is they are selling a month. So online, you have ads promoting a month. You really can't do like 3 different promotions running all at the same time. It's very, very convoluted. It gets very confused. And so they've been trying to catch up through that. And that's part of the problem that we've had. I think that the November-December promotion is a really good example of them getting farther ahead of it. And they started that in October, which still is not far out. I know you want six weeks or longer, Jane, but they have gotten farther out, and the reaction that they're getting to that promotion is really large. I mean, they're getting really, really good pickup and good response. What the SEO should do, so that's the paid media side of it. The SEO should be really the unpaid portion of it. You talk about publicity and PR getting a higher response, a better response as far as people wanting to go to your location because they think it's, they're making that decision, unlike a paid ad. And that is what SEO is going to do, is it's going to get our name out there in front of people, and they'll think inherently that they're making the decision to look at Morro Bay, when actually they're really being guided towards our different things that we want to promote through SEO.
Okay, so you're saying you have a goal of 10% growth. Well, first of all, I just want to say that I am a huge proponent of not having a check and balance system. So I'm not one to have, like, my reservation system does not swipe my credit cards, because if it goes down, I can still swipe a credit card somewhere else. I.e., your SEO, if we would have had somebody in place with SEOs, who cares what the marketing transition is, that would have been in place. Okay, so I like having separate entities. It's a check and balance system. But 10% growth of what? What are you measuring? Is it 10% of our occupancy increase on hotels? Is it 10% more to TOT? Is it 10% on what? Is it a move up on a page? That's what I'm trying to figure out. What is the goal for you to get somebody in SEO?
To me, the goal is to move people through the booking, Whether they physically book is going to be based on the rate and what they see online. I cannot control that part of it. But getting them to that point to want to look at booking is what I would like to see grow.
Okay.
So a click-through rate of 10% increase, that's what we're looking for.
So so you're looking for, first of all, a tracking engine, which we haven't had before, per hotel, to be able to track from morrowbay.org to see where the reservations are coming from once they click to go through the hotels. So all that has to be in place. Is that the SEO or is that your website?
I'd say it's the SEO. It's not being done right now.
Okay, so is that part of the contract
Yes.
to establish tracking?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what I want to know. So you're going to have a timeline developed to be able to go ahead and see a 10% increase and be able to honestly track it from morrowbay.org through the hotels.
We cannot go through to the hotels. We can go through the booking part of it. We don't manage the hotels' websites.
No, I know, but you'll be able to know if somebody's clicked through to the hotel.
Absolutely.
So what you're trying to do is just establish that through the hotel. That's all I want to know.
Jane, right now we can see people that go onto Jackrabbit, onto the booking, and when I get into the marketing report, you'll see that. It's all clearly defined. So what we're getting right now is pretty strong considering we don't have anybody focused on doing the SEO part of it.
Good conversation, Jane. Thank you. Is there any further discussion or questions from the board? Seeing none, we'll open it up to public comment. Any public comment on the item?
This one requires glasses, guys. Hi, it's Joan Solu, because I have to say my name for Lori. Hi, Lori. So it's Back to the Future because Rick was originally managing our SEO 10 years ago or whatever, just so you know. And, you know, he comes highly recommended by all kinds of folks. If you want to go that direction, that's good. One of the things I'd like to know is, was there an RFP actually placed out, or was this just kind of a headhunt? The other question I have about, because usually cities do RFPs, they don't just do a headhunt. The other thing I'd like to say to you about SEO is you don't even know where you're at. None of us do. I look at your marketing report, and it's not your fault, Jennifer, so I'm going to throw that in. I look at the marketing report, and I'm like, what? Okay, so let's put this into, it says website unique visitors, 20,319 plus 41%. So exactly what does plus 41% mean? What is plus 41%? We don't really know because you don't show the data from last year and you don't show the data from last month. Is that a 41% growth on last month? And, you know, if this is May to June, well, it better be. If it's June to July, it better be at least 25%. But if it's July to July, what is it and how do you figure it? So it's really hard for you guys to make marketing decisions when you don't have the right data in front of you. And to put it into, you're all hoteliers, to put it into a hotelier perspective, your staff walks up to you and says, wow, we have 41% more bookings. 41% more bookings what? Today? Did you have 1 last year and you have 41% more now? Or did you have 100 last year and you have now 141 bookings? Did you have 1,000 last year? And now you have to know where you came from to know where you're going. And all that data actually has been collected by the city as a TBID board over the last 9 years in terms of what we had. I know that I still have some of it probably thrown into a box, but the city should have it with all the TBID minutes. But this report, you guys, I just want you to have the best information to make the best decisions because you know where we're at. Our MLOS is shortening. It's not lengthening. And when MLOS is short, you work harder, your staff works longer, and it's harder on the physical product. The physical product is, in your case, is the hotel, but it's also harder on the city. a longer minimum length of stay is better for the entire community. It's better for the residents because people get out of their cars and they walk. It's better for the streets, the water system. It's better for everything. So with the SEO, I agree with you guys. We've got to get better SEO engine. I don't care who you pick, as long as you pick the one that's really going to turn our SEO around, because it is one of the things that's most important to all of us. And I would like to know your data, and the reason why I want to see, okay, if the city is increasing 41% on their data, what did my hotel do? If my hotel is only increasing, if our SEO increased 10%, I'm lagging behind. I'm not taking care of burying my competition. Sorry, guys, but that's the way it works, right? So we use this data in our workplace to see how we stand up to the rest of the community. And it really gives us an idea of how we need to tack our business. So we'd really like to see the data personally be stronger as a hotelier, so that I can use that data to improve my business, as well as see you all improve the business for the hotel. For the city.
Thank you, Joan, very much. Further comment from the board? Jen, do you have some response to that, dialogue on this?
I don't know. I'm unaware that I need to do an RFP under 25,000, so I can confirm that with Mr. Buckingham, but I did not think that was a requirement. But I can double check that just so you understand, but I didn't think it was.
I don't know if is this a requirement or philosophical thing? I'm not really sure.
I would be glad to do it if you'd rather me
Okay.
send it back out. I have no problem doing that at all.
Board, do we have any direction to give Jen on this? Do we want to see? Jane is stepped away briefly. I'm inclined to say, with this being a $9,000 contract, if this Rick as comes well recommended, if Charlie's had interaction with him and he handled a lot of DMO, it sounds like a reasonable choice, and I do believe that it's time sensitive, but we're a board here, we need to confer.
I totally agree with that, the time constraint.
Yeah.
I'd rather get somebody on board and get it happening just as we're talking. Oh, got it, okay.
Okay. We need to put a bell on Jane. So, with this in mind, let's take a 5-minute break. The time is 10:27. Let's adjourn. Oh, excuse me. I see Jane coming back to the room now. Hi, Jane. We need you for a quorum to wrap this up. You kind of just scurried off. It happens.
Yeah.
We get that. Where we're at was we had 2 points of discussion here.
Right.
One,
No,
as brought up, is as a board, do we feel we need to go RFP on this, or there being a $9,000 contract and it being a time-sensitive issue, is it sufficient to have these 2 proposals in front of us? I'm advocating, I think the 2 are just fine. Charlie seems to be on board with that. Jane, we just wanted to confer with you. Are you okay to just choose between these 2 at the moment?
I'm fine with that. I
Okay.
think, do you want maybe, can Jennifer just call legal and make sure we don't need an RFP and let's just move forward?
Her understanding is anything less than $25,000, and this being a
All right,
$9,000.
fine.
So
So what do
she's not worried about the legality
Okay,
of it.
That's fine.
If it's a problem, we can just state that for the record, that if is that right, Lori, that we can just say if they require an RFP? I don't know that they will, but.
Okay, so we'll leave that as a caveat? If that in the motion is sufficient? Okay. So that being said, it sounds like as a board, then we are comfortable with choosing between one of these 2 right now. Staff does recommend we go over to Pacific Leisure Marketing. We have opened up to public comment. That session is now closed. At this point, it's now time for a board member, not myself, to make a motion how we move forward.
Okay, I can do that. I motion that we accept that we choose the Pacific Leisure proposal to move forward for our SEO provider.
And with the caveat in there that if we need
Oh,
to
and
go
I'm sorry,
RFP.
with the caveat that, assuming that we don't need an RFP, that we move forward with that.
And I think there was an additional caveat we were looking for as a board about having a poor performance clause and escape clause
Yes.
if necessary.
Yes.
At any time we can leave their services.
Okay. So I move that we select Pacific Leisure to do this with two caveats. One being that that an RFP is not required and we can move forward with this. And secondly, that we do have an out clause in our contract with them that if for poor performance.
Well said, Maggie. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I have a conflict of interest, so I cannot vote.
Okay. You're abstaining? Okay, so we have 3 ayes, 0 nays, and 1 abstention. The motion,
What the conflict of interest is.
He does the SEOs on my website and on every one of my websites and has built them all, so I can't vote on this.
fair enough. The motion passes. Next item on the agenda, item number 7, marketing and public relations update. Review these documents. This is a tell-all, no motion required.
Okay, we're just going to go through what's been going on for the month of October. We have a lot to talk about, and hopefully Joan will stay so I can talk about some of her concerns as well. So this is a document that's put together by Mental Marketing, and their percentages that they're showing on stats are increased month over month. So what they're showing as far as unique visitors, they're saying we had 20,000 plus visitors to the website in September, and that is 41% increase over the month before. What's really interesting is Jackrabbit is up pretty strong, which I'm very happy with. It seems like, I don't know why it's jumping so much, because like I said, we're not doing SEO right now, but we're pushing really hard. Remember, with your marketing plan last year, most of the media buy has moved to digital. Ad Taxi, Adara, and those type of things, doing a lot of very specific marketing towards people that are coming in or looking at Morro Bay and tracking them through the website, and it just keeps following them until they eventually click on Jackrabbit. So I think that's a lot of what we're seeing as far as the search is growing, which I'm happy with. I think looking at those numbers of growth, bringing an SEO contractor on board, this should really be dynamite. I'm really looking forward to next month and how this goes. Advertising stats to date. So paid digital impressions, again, we're running all pretty much digital media, is over 8,000. The things that I think are important, I've highlighted in red as far as clicks onto morrobay.org. We had 44,000 people actually click onto it. So they probably were seeing an ad and clicked over to our site to look at it. From there, the click-through rate was, it's 0.52, which is higher than the industry average. The Facebook campaigns that we were running, we'll go through a little later in this presentation. We were running a lot of our promotional campaigns for San Salvador and some things like that. But we did pretty well on that. Our impressions were strong on Facebook, and our clicks on Facebook were over 24,000 onto morrobay.org. So that's what that's talking about. They were on Facebook, and they clicked over to morrobay.org. For October social media stats, Facebook is still growing really strongly. We're up to 43,000 plus people on our page. Just as a reference, last year and the whole year, the Facebook page grew roughly 4,000 people, and we're growing, 4,000 to 6,000 per month now since Mental Marketing has taken it over. So I think that shows really strongly that they are really, really focused on growing our social media needs. And again, that's Travis Ford that does Rock Harbor marketing here in town. He's local, so he's in our market like every day, which I love. Instagram, we really don't push Instagram right now. It's very secondary, so seeing growth here I'm happy about. I think that's one thing that I will start making sure that Rock Harbor pushes stronger as Travis is doing things, but he is seeing growth on that. Talking about specific campaigns, Maritime Month program, that was a month-long promotion, and it had lots of components in it, San Salvador, Harbor Festival, lots of different things coming in. Jackrabbit searches were over 13,000, and referrals off of Jackrabbit were 6,730, so pretty strong. The getaway contest, I wanted to just speak about this kind of philosophically. In the original marketing plan, the proposal was to do a 3-month getaway package program where you would click and you were basically capturing emails to grow a database, which doesn't directly put heads in beds, but it grows a database for longevity. And I was concerned about holding a campaign that long for a free vacation is really difficult. A 3-month campaign is really, really difficult. I mean, I've seen that over and over working in casinos. It's very hard to get people to look at it on long term. And so I asked Mental to just do it for 1 month and let's really look at it and analyze it. And I think the numbers really show clearly that it wasn't a great campaign. The total visits as far as people that entered their email address to be in that promotion were 1,873. That is not, to me, that's not strong. So I'm glad that, we made the decision to just take it down to 30 days instead of spend money over 3 months. I think that was a good decision. The page visits, 3,400. Additional Facebook, people that liked our page, 440. The numbers are all fine, but they're not great. They're not the numbers that I want to see. I want to see big numbers for our money. So, going into the November-December promotion, interestingly enough, this did not start being promoted until the end of October. I think the 24th of October was the first day that the ads started running, and they are focused on the LA market, LA Basin market, as well as San Joaquin Valley and the Bay Area. So we're going after people that have more disposable income, that have the ability to possibly come for longer stays. And this promotion, if you remember right, this is the kids get free stuff. And so I went around and knocked on a lot of doors and tried to get people to give us anything we could to put in this package. And literally the reason why it started so late was because I just had a really hard time getting people to commit. And so I had maybe 3 vendors committed by October 15th, and I just kept waiting because I really wanted to have a stronger package. To me, 3 giveaways is not a strong enough package. And so what we ended up with is we have free chowder at Giovanni's. We have a topping at Grandma's Yogurt. Subsea Tours has kids get on free, all different things. I mean, it came out, I think, really nice and really substantial. And these are the ads that are running online. So these are gifts. These actually flip back and forth. And that's what we've been getting the most response on, is the ads actually flip back and forth and keep your attention instead of just a static visual. And so, the idea is you're family free. Well, the kids are, come stay in Morro Bay, and the kids get a free stuff package, and it's done really well. So if you look at the numbers over there, just for October, remember this is only for 7 days for the month, the landing page click is already over 500. Jackrabbit booking links are 43, and I'm very happy with how that's trending for only being, a week into October, especially when you had Halloween in there. Kind of interesting, huh? Mm-hmm. Here's the coupon that we put together. It's just a flat card that we take out to the hotels that have any families that are coming in, and it just says the hotel's name on the front and the check-in, check-out dates. And then the backside has all the different offers, and the kids just take it with them as they walk around town, and they just have the item checked off that they got their free chowder at Giovanni's, and they can just keep going around town. And these are good for any kids that are 16 and under that are staying with a 2-night stay with an adult. So that's kind of the package that's running for that.
And how are those distributed?
We're actually walking them into the hotels every week.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't got.
I believe that Shannon either called or came by your hotel, and we were told there were no kids last week staying at your hotel, Jane. Week by week. Because a lot of the hotels don't know if there's kids checking in.
So my question is, if we don't know because of walk-ins and stuff like that, and we don't have those, what are we supposed to do? Call you?
You can call me and I'll bring them down. I can give you extras to have at your hotel, Jane. I'm totally, if there's a better way to manage it, I am totally open to it. The reason why I did the promotion this way was, if you remember when we did the wine promotion in September, which tracked really well, we only had 7 hotels that were involved in it. And I wanted this to be, so the September wine promotion did well for only 7 hotels. So if we had every hotel available in a promotion, how well would it do? It's kind of how my mind works. And so this is something that the hotels don't have to put money out to do. It's offered to everybody that comes in that has kids. And so if you have a better way to get them out to people, I'm totally open to that. No idea?
Well, my point is, if it's free to anybody that has kids, why wouldn't you just keep a stack of them instead of running back and forth to the hotels, so that the hotels could give it to somebody even if they walk in, or a last minute checking like on Booking or something like that, and somebody shows up with, a daughter and a 16-year-old and one parent or something. So we would have it right there so they would think they got a big deal.
I don't have a problem taking them to the hotels. I still would like to go by every week and see how
that's
people
fine.
are doing on it.
I have a question. So what do? They turn it in? How are you tracking this to see if it's effective?
So the only tracking mechanism that I have on here is the kites. The kites actually have a cost to me that comes out of my budget, and so that's my only way to track this coupon, because they don't hand it in at the end. There's
Right.
no way to make them go through a circle, They just go wherever they happen to be at that point.
Okay. So that you're going to get the information from the retailers. Okay. So how has it been so far? How have the retailers responded to this so far, since we started this in October? Have you gotten a lot of feedback?
I have not reached out to the retailers yet.
Oh, okay.
We're using it as a tool in converting phone calls into reservations. So we're asking if they're coming with the family, letting them know that we have it available, and then having it ready for them when they check in. But it's a tool. We're like, okay, are you traveling? What's bringing you to the area? Coming with my kids. Okay, well, we have this great promotion for these months. So it's an added thing to help close the
Oh, no,
sale.
I agree with you. I'm not disputing any of that. I'm talking about tracking, because we're using people hours to run to hotels every week, where, we've used printing costs, and it's nice to track certain things to see if we want to do it again.
So I think going to the hotels, Jane, weekly is important, because I need to grow that relationship with hotels. So I'm not going to get rid of that component. I think that's a really important part of what I do, is being out there and hearing what they like, don't like, what's working or not working. So
Okay, so from that, because I think we're looking for metrics here. From that perspective, you haven't reached out to the retailers yet. What are the hoteliers saying? How many cards have they given out, and what is the overall guest response?
the response is good. They're liking the option. What I've been doing right now, Aaron, is just going at the beginning of the week on a Monday or Tuesday and finding out how many they assume they're going to need for the week, and I give them those numbers accordingly. So it depends on how many rooms the hotel has. Most of the smaller hotels are taking like 4 or 5 for the week.
When you follow the next week, then, are you asking how many were used the previous week? Because they're going to have surplus cards. I mean, I think some sort of tracking.
Yeah, I can do that. I have not, but I can do that.
Okay, that seems. So, are you tracking exactly how many cards you gave them? You hand them 5.
Yes, we are tracking how many we hand each hotel. Yes.
Okay, so then if they always want 5, now they need 2 this week. You know that they gave away 2 last week.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You guys good? Okay. So just quickly, this is not by any means the reconciliation for the grant funds, so don't assume that's what this is. This is just from mental marketing standpoint. Remember, they were brought on for a few specific grants, and we're given money specifically to promote that grant. So San Salvador was one of those events, and they did 11,000 tours, which was pretty great for the time it was here. The Slow Tribune and Valley Digital was over 480,000 impressions. The click rate was 1,500 total clicks over to morobay.org. There are some other things I think when we get into the grants, when Judy Salmacher, I think she's going to come in next month and talks about that. There's maybe some growth things that we can change for next year, and so I'm not going to dwell too much over the clicks because they weren't as high as I would like to see. But this just talks about basically where they ran the money and what the total outreach was. I think that their spots on KSBY was really strong. A lot of this is local, but this was the grant funds that, were put out, and a lot of it was done through KSBY had a connection through Fresno, so a lot of that was also in the Fresno market as well. A couple of the other grants that they worked on for September, the Morro Bay Triathlon, they had 108 clicks total over to Jackrabbit from morrobay.org, and they had 365 clicks for the Facebook promotion. I think we'll see better numbers this next month because people were not booking out that far for the triathlon specifically. Superbration, their money was pretty limited. They had kind of an unusual situation with Superbration because Superbration had pre-booked their media already, which was print, not where we would have wanted it to go. And so some of that money went to their previously committed print ads. So what they did have money left for, they put on a Facebook promotion to click over to morrobay.org, and they're through Jackrabbit. And so they had 81 clicks through Jackrabbit. I actually didn't think it would be that high because that's really a local promotion. I mean, it's really a local-based thing, and it has a very limited audience. I think they can seat like 250 people total at that event. Is that right, Charlie? Does that sound right? I didn't think it would be that high. Surfboard Art Festival. The Tribune and Valley Digital, again, they had 59,000 impressions, and the clicks so far for Surfboard Art Festival was 80. Now, with that money it'll compile stronger as we get closer to the finale. So that money is fairly light for September. October will be stronger. November will be stronger until they have their auction at the beginning of December. So these numbers you'll see grow over the next couple months. There's a lot of visiting media that has been coming in and out of the market, and a few that I wanted to point out came through VSLOC and Visit California. 2 of them are coming up. Next week we have a group of journalists that are coming from Japan. They'll just be here for the day. They're not spending the night, but they're going to have lunch here in Morro Bay as they travel down the coast. And then Andy Murdoch will be here. He's also a VSLOC journalist that Visit California brought in. He will be staying here. And kind of interestingly, I reached out to a hotelier in town to see about placing him at their hotel, and they didn't want a journalist there, so I've placed him somewhere else. That's fine. We try to promote the hotels. That's what it's about, is he wanted a smaller, more intimate hotel. He didn't want something super fancy. He didn't want something on the water, and so we were trying to place him. It's an unusual situation that we have a journalist that wants something more average, not a high-end hotel. So it was kind of nice. And so I tried to put him somewhere that I thought would be a good fit and a pretty hotel, but they did not want to entertain him. So I'm looking elsewhere. Going into the press clips for the month, I sent all of you this article that came out at the beginning of the month from Atad. This is Dawn. She's a journalist that stayed here for 2 days, and her site is tremendous. I don't know if any of you had a chance to look at the article, and she has a huge following. Something interesting on her site is she's got the domain activity, which I think she means clicking over to our page, 31. So one of the weird things with journalists is you cannot require them to put your website on to link over. So that's a little difficult. You're getting your name out there about Morro Bay, but there's not the physical click-through like you would have in a paid advertising. So what we've done in conjunction with most of these is when they place their digital media, they're placing them in line with wherever these journalists are. So if her blog is running, we would have ran ads that ran on side of her blog, just to kind of give you an idea of kind of how Mental teams up with them. the next family that came in, one of the things we're trying to do going into winter is family getaways, family reunions, getting people to come, for longer stays with multiple people over Thanksgiving and the Christmas vacation. And so these journalists were specifically targeted to come, in September, in October, to promote that type of a spend and type of a stay. And so this family, they did a really great. I love their stuff. They've got this, their blog that they have, it's called, what is it? It's A Lovely Life. It's really cute. They stayed here for several days, and they did a ton of publicity. I only put a few things up there. This is their blog, and then they've got their hike that they did, and you can't see the bottom photo, but it's actually of the bay. And then they're hiking up Black Hill. I believe that's Black Hill. Does that look like Black Hill, or is that Montana? I think it's Black Hill, right? It's a great view, and I love the photo still showing the rock in the background. And then this is also one more page. And then these are YouTube as well. They did a lot of stuff on Facebook. I didn't put up a lot of Facebook stuff because it's just insane. I mean, I could spend like 10 pages showing what they did on Facebook, but you can see from all of their activity, I think they showed a really good glimpse of Morro Bay and staying here and what you can do. There's a couple of their Facebook pages. I think I did one on it. Some articles that were written locally, the Tribune. I love this story about the hikes in Sierra Cabrillo. I thought that was a really good story that came out. And then behind that, we had San Salvador, got a lot of publicity on San Salvador. This was one specific article that came out. The coverage was pretty strong. They had 21,000 visits to look at the site. Again, I think that this relationship is probably a growing relationship, and next year when they come back from San Diego, I think it'll run better as far as getting them. How do you book tickets and booking tickets out and hooking it with a hotel room? San Diego just did not want to go that level of this maiden voyage because they just weren't sure how the voyage would go. Winter Bird Festival, I love that they published this so early in the month. California Watchable Wildlife is a great site. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but they have pretty large visitors every year, a lot of it California-based, and a lot of it are people that come in for Winter Bird Festival. Another San Salvador article that came out in the Tolosa Press. And then this is where it's really interesting to me. So going back to the Kids Passport that's November, December, that came out only with a few days in October. The rest of the PR that was picked up is all about that passport. I mean, that just screams volumes to me. So it's in all sorts of publicity pages. You'll see LA Biz, Arizona Central, California Business Times. That's the Silicon Valley Business Journal. This one I really liked because they literally picked up our press release word for word, included all the offers at the bottom. I mean, this is for me, this is golden. I'm thrilled by this, and this gives us great insight as a community going forward of what people are responding to on a PR side and on a marketing side. So that is PR Newswire right there. This one is Yahoo, huge publicity on Yahoo. And this is another story on Yahoo as well. Isn't that amazing that they picked all that up just in the last 8 days of October? And then the last one was on Market. What is that? I can't read it. Is it Market Watch?
And Jen, do we owe that credit to Mental Marketing, or
Absolutely.
is that 100%
Absolutely.
them? That's all them. Okay.
That's all Mental Marketing. Yeah, so, again, the hard thing for me was that it came together so late. Publicity-wise, I don't think they would have publicized it more, but we could have advertised it more. So it would have been nice to have the advertising come out 2 weeks before that and then roll into the publicity at the end of October, which would be kind of typical of when they would show that publicity. We just didn't get our offers together quick enough.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's something we're looking to rectify here in the near future and be on top of our game. Great. I'm sorry, I did not mean to seem like cutting you off. Are you concluded then, or are you still?
That is all I have to talk about with all of that, yeah.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the board to Jen? Seeing none, we can open up to public comment. Questions or comments?
Jennifer, great report. Joan Solu, thank you for having me. I am the owner of 456 Embarcadero Inn and Suites. Great report. Great things. Love to see that 8-day bounce in attention to our lovely community by families, because we all know that when families travel, the minimum length of stay increases because their kids like to get out and do things. So great to have families traveling. And I appreciate that that is going to be rolling through for the month of November. Pardon me?
And December.
And December. And I am curious, right, because it's for the holidays, I'm curious what else we're doing, because we have some festivals coming up. We have Lighted Boat Parade coming up. Jennifer and I took a field trip up to Cambria. And it's interesting because for all of you, you have to know what we're doing. What's your booking window? Your booking window is less than 30 days right now. That's how it is. The booking window is really, really tight. It's 2 weeks. We're down to, I don't know what is going on with travel, but the booking window is 2 weeks and the MLOS is going backwards. And that's something that I'm hoping this board will concentrate on, because increasing that MLOS and creating a better, larger, longer booking window for us increases business. And we're kind of flat right now. You're going to review TOT here, I think, unless you already did, and it's flat. And that's minimum length of stay, and that's booking window issues, and that's view issues, viewing Morro Bay. How do they view Morro Bay? So my question is, I have a database of about 14,000 people that I direct market to, and right now, we put together our blast for the next month. We have the kids' free package, and we have the boat parade. And then we're marketing Cayucas, and we're marketing Cambria, and we're marketing Hearst Castle, and we're marketing San Luis Obispo Parade, and we're marketing Pismo Beach. Because we're dark in Morro Bay for the month of December. And that's huge. And I don't know how we can get out of that hole in December and January if we're not paying attention to that. It's really, really big. And so I would love to see, and what we're going to do for January right now, so that I can start to work on that. I could market that now to all the people who are going to be interested in that 2-week gap. I could market January now, or come back in February. If I knew what January and February were doing, you hang on to the tailcoats at the end of your marketing. You're marketing December, but your tailcoats are January and February in your marketing. And so it's really important that that information is out now and included in any of your marketing reports. And I appreciate what we are doing, that I am not trying to minimize what's been done or minimize what we're doing now and that push that's just happened in the last 8 days. But I really would encourage us to be looking into that crystal ball. So, and minimum length of stay, like I said, I'm going to beat that. That's not a dead horse. We can fix that. And we can also work on the booking window. So thank you.
I have a question.
Thank you, Jane.
Thanks, John. Those passports, are they available to vacation rentals?
No.
Okay. So Joan's talking about so here's my other question. All those press releases and everything came out in October when kids are in school. So the only time they can come here is on the weekends. I also, besides the minimum length of stay, I'm looking at, we really need to increase our bookings for during the week. During the weekends, I think that most of the hotels are pretty well set with at least a 70% occupancy, if not more. So we can't even look at kids coming here unless there's vacation, which we're looking at November, but mostly the end of December. So here we went out with all these press releases now on that. And are we going to try to hit those again so that people will remember those for booking longer stays in December when they can travel with their children? Or will it not be picked up again? Because press like
press might pick up. New press might pick it up because it's on
Right.
PR Newswire. But we are running a paid campaign all through November and fairly far into December. So it all correlates together, Jane. And I mean, you cannot help when they pick it up. I do think it was still the right place to put it before November 1st because the offer started November 1st. So again, we're trying to increase that booking window. If we can get them to book in October for Thanksgiving. Now, I know you're saying they have that time off, but most families or most people that are traveling for holidays, they should be booking out farther. They're planning these things with their family. And what we were trying to do was incentivize come to Morro Bay for Thanksgiving. The back end problem is there's not a lot of restaurants open. You know, we put together a list of all the complete restaurants, and we've been pushing that pretty hard. But Joan's right. I mean, the town is just fairly dark. So yesterday we spent probably 2 hours calling every restaurant in town, asking if they were having any special offers for Veterans Day. That's tomorrow. Most of them went, oh, Veterans Day. I didn't know there was Veterans Day. I mean, but making that call, making that personal touch, not an email. They don't respond to emails. They don't respond to constant contact like they should. Calling all them, lots of them said, hold on, and they put something together right there on the phone. So, you know, I will put that up on our current happenings to go out for all the hoteliers to talk to their people that are here visiting. It's not going to drive people into town because, you know, they're just deciding it. But, I mean, we're trying to encourage them as much as we can to make offers.
I agree with all that, but you brought up a really big point, and that is we have a Chamber of Commerce that is trying to become more active and get more members. And Erica's a great gal. I don't understand why there isn't that open communication and maybe more of an active communication where it's a joint effort. So if you have these ideas, she's not going to her constituents or her membership and say, hey, let's get something together for this. January's restaurant month in San Luis Obispo. I have no idea if any of our restaurants here are doing anything or why they haven't been talked to by somebody about joining in and the benefits that it would be for marketing. We are dark. I check Pismo, I'm advertising what's going on in Cambria, SLO, Paso, Atascadero, Veterans Day parades, stuff like that, because people come here and want to know what to do. What is there to do? And, you know, it's like when it's cold and it's windy, they can't go out on the bay. What is there to do? And there's a lot of things to do, but we need to start marketing those because this is also a time of year where winter at the sea is not thought of first and foremost.
So to talk about Restaurant Month really fast, there are 3 restaurants in town participating in it, and it's not just San Luis County, it is California-wide. It's a Visit California movement that they're doing, and we reached out to all of the restaurants, so did the county, and there was 3 that picked it up, and that's all for Morro Bay, but I'm trying to get more restaurants involved, just so you know. So that's another component, so I'm trying to personally talk with restaurants and see if I can get them involved, okay? Just so you're aware of that.
No, I know, but what I'm saying, I think the most important thing that I said is you are not alone, okay? Erica is a very good companion for you on this for lots of reasons. She wants to increase her membership. So if she's out there showing her membership why it's important to join the commerce, because look, hey, join this, let's put this together, let's do that together. You're not doing everything. You're concentrating on marketing, not trying to find something to market. You're getting the marketing to do your job, okay? So you said you have 3 restaurants for Restaurant Month. I'd like to know who they are at some point soon, you know, and there's just a lot of holes, minimum stays. Like I said, that's great, a minimum stay, but we need to work on our minimum stays during the week. That's really important. It's weekday stays we need to promote. Kids can't stay during the week. Our elderly can, our retirees can. So we need to have something focused on them. And I don't know what marketing there is for that at, the TBID level.
Sure.
So that's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Jane. Is there any further comments or discussion from the board? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, and this was no motion required. This was a receive, review, and file item, so we are done with that. Getting close to wrapping things up here. Section number 8, visit San Luis Obispo County Board meeting update from myself. So we're making a few changes here to facilitate greater level of communication between us as a city DMO and then the county DMO, one of which is in the board agenda packet. You'll all notice there is the minutes from the Visit SLO County last meeting, and that will be consistent from here on out. So of course everybody is welcome to read through those minutes. I will save you all from the boring details of that. I'll point out a couple of highlights that happened in the meeting, as well as a couple other things that aren't in the minutes here, but just good things to be aware of. One of which is, I'm sure as a lot of you know now, there are very exciting things happening at the airport. So we have our new flight that'll be leaving April 13th, and at once a day from San Luis Obispo Airport to Seattle and back. So that's a fantastic opportunity for us to bring in out-of-market tourism. We're also promoting a lot of specials up in Seattle, and that is hosted by Alaskan Airlines. As such, a few of the deals that have come with this is a new announcement is that wines fly free. So when guests do come down here, they purchase wine in our area. Alaska Airlines is gracious enough to not charge them a fee to bring their wines. It can be a small case of wine, individual bottles, things like that. So these little things to kind of promote our Central Coast lifestyle. When it's foggy and gray up in Seattle, they come here, enjoy our beautiful beaches, and get to take something back as a bit of a promo. Additional thoughts, kind of an extension of the airport. We are excited, of course, about Seattle, but at a county level, we are not done there. We want to continue to push and bring more flights in from other regions. So currently, the discussion is bringing another direct flight either from Denver or from Dallas. There is a lot of metrics we need to put together and analysis to do so. There is a $10,000 study that's been commissioned, and it looks like that will be covered now by the airport to analyze Denver versus Dallas and what the consequences will be from that. So it's funny as we have this discussion out there, there are some people rooting for Team Denver, other Team Dallas, but either way, we hope we can get something off the ground. And considering there has been no new direct flights in 10 years, to possibly bring 2 to the table in just a couple years is a real strong achievement for us in broadening our tourism base. A couple other thoughts here. At a county level, we have put into place what's called the DAM, Data Asset Management. The nature of WebDAM, excuse me. And the nature of that is a compilation of photos and resources at a county level. Each DMO, different towns, different hotels have pictures, beautiful pieces of information, but they're all kind of sporadically scattered throughout the region. The purpose for the WebDAM was to consolidate it all so that all DMOs can then tap into that WebDAM and access photography, articles, you have it, you name it, as a well and a pool for all of us to draw from. The discussion has been, I guess, my understanding is some DMOs are not drawing upon that resource, and we want to encourage that to happen and continue that conversation and really broaden that out there. So it's still in its infancy right now, and Jen, I know you were at that meeting. You want to speak to that?
Well, I think there was a misunderstanding of what WebDAM originally was.
Right.
I think the DMOs thought it was just uploading and the county was going to use those assets because we all have our own Dropbox or different products that people use, but it's actually supposed to go both ways is the intention of it. And it also can upload all your press releases, which is really nice. So there's a whole pile of Morro Bay photos that were uploaded before I started that I've been going through and kind of picking out and making them more professional assets that we are, represent us well. So we're kind of in the middle of that right now.
And it's a brilliant database, which is why we're now bringing the minutes to each of the DMO meetings to kind of shore up these conversation gaps. And I understand the DMOs, they thought that was just for county use, but no, it's a two-way street. Upload data, download data. Makes everything cheaper and creates synergy in our community. Other thoughts here. We are hosting, in conjunction with Visit California, a China Ready Symposium at the Courtyard Marriott in San Luis Obispo on December 7th. It's from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Should be a brilliant symposium. We're encouraging anybody and everybody to attend. The purpose being, how do we get ready for China? What are the guests' needs? What are their desires when they come to our market here? Now, we do recognize we are not the primary destination for them. I know, it blows my mind. Forget LA and San Francisco, come to Morro Bay first. But nevertheless, we are typically going to be perhaps on their second trip, but likely their third and fourth trip here. But there is cultural discrepancies between ours and theirs, methods of payment, methods of hosting, and all of these will be covered. Visit California is only hosting a couple of these in the state, and we are privileged enough to have that actually here in San Luis Obispo. So if you can get away and attend the 3-hour symposium, I highly recommend it. I know I will be there, most of my staff will be there, and I imagine probably all of us are going to be there as well. So it should be a phenomenal event. Additionally, there was the 2017 lodging forecast, which was hosted down in Los Angeles. It was hosted by CBRE, which is a large brokerage, but primarily a economic study and information group. They created a 120-something page document, and it's just a forecast for all of Southern California lodging. But in that, there is a specific call-out for a 10-page section. I printed it myself on San Luis Obispo County. So it does break down Paso Robles, San Luis Obispo, Pismo Beach, and North Coast. So they recognize our county as 4 regions. Yeah, they're kind of using the star reporting method. But there's a 10-page section in there. I want to say it's page, I think, 101 to page 111. I've read every page of it, and there are some good pieces of information here, little morsels to be gathered. It helps a lot of us in kind of forecasting where things will be going. This was brought back to us from Visit San Luis Obispo County attending the conference in Southern California a few weeks back. One thing I will note, this report is available on Visit San Luis Obispo County website. When you do see it, though, the cover by CBRE is inaccurate. It says 2016. It makes you want to stop and not download it. It's an error. This is the 2017 forecast. A couple other things is an extension here of our discussion with Scott Graham regarding vacation rentals and housing and so forth. The County Board of Supervisors has now hosted an agreement with a company called Host Compliance to an analysis of illegal vacation rentals within the county, and this is for the unincorporated regions, but starting to bring them to the table and understand the metrics, what's happening out there, and how do we continue that conversation. So the county's pushing forward with bringing them into the fold as well, and this is the first step of that process. And that would pretty much, as far as the meat of the last 30 days, conclude my thoughts with the Visit SLO County meetings. Are there any comments from the board, Jen?
You want to talk about their brandings getting close to being done?
We can get into that, absolutely. Okay.
Just vaguely. But they're...
So while the organization is called Visit San Luis Obispo County, we do recognize that is not an optimal brand to broadcast out to our tourism industry. It's a tremendous amount of characters, and it rolls clumsily off the tongue. As such, we needed to create a brand that is essentially a DBA of Visit San Luis Obispo County, doing business as, that we can put in all print, electronic media, and so forth. We went out to BCF, which is our advertising firm. They're based in Virginia, and they handle large-scale DMO advertising. They came back with a couple different proposals. We've now vetted through those proposals, and our conclusion for the branding here is SLOCAL, SLOCAL, for nationally San Luis Obispo, California County. And there were pros and cons to this. The pros, it is 6 characters in length. SLOCAL is a phenomenal branding. It's easy. We can acquire that domain and then just blast SLOCAL across all of our advertising, which represents the county. So we're very excited about that as well. And now we're refining our logo and some of the other artwork that will, and the conceptuals that will follow as part of that brand. Good. Is there any questions, comments, thoughts from the board?
No, I just wanted to say I got a copy of the annual report, that SLIC report, which I thought was really cool. One of the things that I was surprised is when it broke down administration, it showed that out of all that money, $168,000 was administration, like salaries. So a lot of the administration costs is buried in all the other categories. Do you have any handle at all on what really the hard costs and the administration costs are?
Chuck Davison, the CEO of Visit SLO County, he came to us last month and he gave a detailed presentation here where he was able to dig into all those details. Jane, you were absent at that meeting. Those I do not have the detailed answers to. We also have a monthly meeting on the third Wednesday of every month. So it'll be next Wednesday at the Holiday Inn Express in Atascadero. It's a great time to get into those details or email staff. But no, I cannot speak explicitly to those initial budget outlines. No, it's a good question. It really is. Any other questions or thoughts? All right. Seeing none, is there any public comment? No public comment. All right, we will close that section. Getting very close to the end of our agenda today. Item number 9, discussion on hotel outreach from the tourism office.
This was actually a topic that Taylor put on the agenda, and he's not here. So, I mean, I think it was just an open discussion. He wanted to talk about how we can better outreach, and I have to tell you, coming on board, like with just my pants on fire, trying to catch up has been really interesting, and not having complete staff was difficult for me for sure. And last month was the first month that I really felt like I was actually accomplishing a lot of my goals that I wanted to do. So I feel better now. I mean, we have Akani, the deputy city manager, on board, which has taken a lot of load off of my shoulders, which has been really good. And we have Lori on board, so now my assistant Liz can actually not have 6-8 hours every month doing the notes and the meeting minutes. So there was just a lot of, I think, just unfortunate growth changes with switching over that happened, but hopefully it's better. I mean, you guys tell me. Charlie?
I like seeing you and your staff coming to the hotels and interfacing with the staff, and seeing the interaction with my desk clerks too is really nice. It's education, being part of it I think is really important, being out there. So thank you.
And this is kind of a related topic, and it's really an idea that I saw Jane put in an email or something, and she was just telling me before the meeting started that this was a practice. And this is talking about outreach from your office, but it's true. But she had suggested that we as board members be assigned a group of hoteliers that we interact with on a regular basis to get their input. I personally really love that idea because I'm fairly new to this. I don't know a lot of them, and it would give me great opportunity. And to Jane's point, I hate to put words in your mouth, Jane, that we're not here voting how we feel. We need to be voting how the constituency feels. So it's not exactly related to this agenda item, but I would like to propose that we do that. I got the list of hoteliers from you. Could we at some point sit down and assign those and have the responsibility? How do you guys feel about that?
When I was on the board before, under Joan, actually, with you. Not under, with. Each person on the board was assigned 6 hoteliers. We would talk to them on a regular basis. We would, when the agendas came up, I used to email mine and just say, hey, here's the TOT, look what's going on. I'm going to the board. If you have anything to say, let me know what's happening. If we needed votes on things, we would have, we would be the ones out there. Like when we had our annual marketing, we would go out there to these. I mean, it's only 6 people. Mm-hmm. And I really feel that should happen, because when it doesn't, they don't know what's going on. Unless Charlie has called somebody this month. Have you? No. Aaron, have you called anybody?
Lots of people, but not related to this.
Not related to this. But the point is, here we're making decisions. We just voted on an SEO. And, what's going on? We're spending somebody else's money and we're recommending things to the city without any input. It's taxation without representation if we're not doing our jobs.
They can come be represented, yeah, they can come here.
It's open, posted.
Yeah.
Yes, I know
In
that,
advance, and
but,
thank you, Joan, for being one of the great public people to
Right.
come and participate.
I know.
Participation
but
is
you know
key.
what? The point is, I think with some encouragement and some outreach, they might participate more, and I think that's important.
Yes, I'd pull back a little bit of that taxation without representation, because that seems a little bold. We're televised, we're sitting here as part of them. And it's actually, Jane, I like that point. It is one of the reasons, if you notice, our different physical format. We discussed this at a meeting a couple of weeks ago. I took the initiative, along with Jen and Connie, the new deputy city manager, wanting to be a bit more of an approachable group. So we thought we would play with a different format, pull us off there, get us down at eye level with the constituents as well, trying to make it a little less intimidating to come and make public comment, and try to remove a bit of the hierarchy that can be perceived with our old format. So we have one person out in public comment. Today, actually, technically, we've had two. We're wondering how that's perceived, but just trying to make us a bit more approachable. But naturally, reaching out to everybody is the most aggressive and direct way to do so. Okay. We will split the list. So we will email with, Jen will email us out the list. We'll start picking names and roll through it. Let's do it.
Okay?
Any public comment?
Joan Solu. I just want
Nice
you
to
to
meet
know
you.
that even though you're going to go through the exercise of doing this, your response to it, having folks stand up and speak in public comment, will likely be very small unless you've done something highly aggravating. And so I'm just being truthful.
Yeah,
What you will get is, I don't really pay attention to it, continue on. But what you also need to understand is that most owner-operators are not Charlie with 100 rooms, or Aaron with a staff that runs a hotel, or Joan with a staff, or Jane who has... Most folks are in there, they're family owner-operated. At 9 o'clock in the morning, they're in the middle of continental breakfast. By the time 11 o'clock rolls around, it's checkout time, and they're thinking to themselves, forget it, there's no way I'm going to go down there and do that. In addition, we have a population who are English as a second language, and there would likely be a barrier there. So of the population that will step forward to speak at a public comment, that does not mean that they're not looking. That does not mean that they're not looking. Keep that in the back of your mind always. It's fine if, we've done it before where we've gone out and we've had a few hotels where we drop something off or we go out and we speak to them. We've done that. It's worked all right. But just as effective is having, you have the database, Jennifer, is having staff make sure that staff puts the agenda, even though they can sign up for Notify Me, that doesn't matter. This is a different animal. The bid is a different animal. This is not a Notify Me animal. And quite frankly, there's a lot of folks who will not give the government any information about them, including an email address. But because they participate here in terms of an assessment, they want the information to come to them, and they're more likely to give it to an individual person or an individual office like Jennifer, where she could, through the database, send them the information or anything like that. The other thing you can do is contact, through the board, send a letter to the hoteliers, an open letter to the hoteliers quarterly. This is what we've done, this is where we're at, we hope to hear from you. You can try surveys, we've tried that. We get pretty good response rate on surveys, by the way, from the hoteliers, if you limit it to 5 questions or less. But I would say go through Jennifer and make sure that she's sending the marketing report, all the agendas, the TOT reports, and any of that monthly to the folks, because they're likely not going to show up here unless, like I said, you did something to really aggravate them, so, which you're not going to do. So there you go. And thanks for having me participate in your meeting.
And Joan, before you sit down, thanks for your comments, because your experience is really valuable, I think, to us. But I'm not clear. Do you think, I think you're probably right. They won't show up here and make comments. Do you support the idea of us as board members? Do you think we'll get anything from that if we divide it up and develop a personal relationship with them? I just wanted your opinion on that.
I think it's great to develop a personal relationship with anyone. I think it's terrific if you want to go out and develop a personal relationship with the hoteliers. Be aware, though, that walking into, and I'm going to use myself as an example. First of all, I'm going to tell you, I don't see any of you as my direct competition. Pismo Beach is my direct competition. So, if you walk into my hotel and you want to ask me how I did on Saturday, I'll tell you how I did on Saturday, because it doesn't bother me at all. Saturday is yesterday. I'm not trying to make $1 on yesterday. I'm trying to make sure that my kids go to college tomorrow. So I'm interested in tomorrow all the time. So it doesn't bother me if you go in. Having said that, there is a mindset that when you see another hotelier come through the door and they're saying, hey, how's it going? Here's the TOT report. How's your business? Is your business on? Mine is off. Or I was slow last Saturday. How are you? You are speaking to a competitor. So you need to be aware of that. If you're going to take that on, you need to just be cognizant of that fact. It's really great to have the neutral staff member go out and make a lot of contact and be the main contact person. I'm not saying don't do it, because I'd welcome Jane anytime. You could come down and I'd say, go up, let's get peanut butter toast in the continental breakfast, right? Doesn't bother me at all. But I just want to let you know there's a group of folks who might feel that way. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, we tried that and they put us off. Just so you know, that could happen too. So.
And
thanks.
Maggie, I don't know if it's really the questions about how's your business, are you up or you're down. I think it should be, here's the agenda items. Is there anything that I can speak for you about? More of that. And I think I still need to go out actively. So it should be just you guys and me both. I think we both need to do it. But I agree with Joan. Being a neutral party does help.
And it comes up when we're discussing so many things, and it's so true and I think you guys are making great progress that way of getting ahead of the thing, of our advertising. So we all agree that now we need to be promoting things for December and January, and in December we need to be promoting, things for February. I think the closer we can get to that model, and then we can take it out and, you, particularly your office, have that to offer them, then that's a value they begin to see and say, okay, well, good. So you're going to be promoting this. Okay, maybe I'll run a special room rate, or I can, give them the sooner we can start giving them the information in advance for them to promote through their emails and their room specials, I think that's the value they'll see that we bring to them.
I agree, and so it's probably two-part on my standpoint. It's the first one going out with the pre-sell, and then I think there should be a secondary outreach showing the new TOT report plus the backup of the detailed TOT report, so they just kind of know, hey, just want you to know, here's what's going on this last month. And one of the things, Joan, that we talked about was a kind of a simplified infographics on the TOT, so it's just like really clean read for that month, specifically the month, but it's backed up by the total detail that we always have. Just help readability wise.
Very good. Any future, questions or comments on this? Seeing none. Closing public comment as well. Joan, thank you very much for your thoughts, and I completely want to echo Maggie's sentiments as well. You have a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, and it's very helpful to all of us. Last item on the agenda here is a declaration of future agenda items. I know I have one I would like to declare. So we'll get this on the books, and it might help quell a few other people's thoughts as well. Future agenda items. It was phenomenal that Scott Graham was here to discuss vacation rentals. Of course, that also goes into RV parks. I know this discussion has been around a while. We got Scott here after our previous future agenda item, and we knew there's a couple of steps to look at this entire process. So I would like to have on our December meeting a staff report and an assessment on the consequences of folding the vacation rentals and the RV parks in here. I do realize it's a self-assessment, so some thoughts on that. I'm just kind of brainstorming here and open to ideas. One of which would be creating a budget review if we were to do so. What dollars would that give us to work with? And additionally, a pro forma scenario where what if we were to reduce the TBID to 2% as opposed to the 3%? Ms. Solo did comment that seems to be possibly kind of the overall consensus in the community, and this is a community action. So it's very easy for us, I think, to take our current budget and just work in those numbers and see where we would land on that process. I think it's also part of our due diligence. to do so. That, as we're brainstorming here, it might help the hoteliers get on our side and wish to welcome the vacation rentals into the fold that much more if the TBID assessment would drop from 3 to 2%. There's a positive influence in the community. So I think we need to see that in 1 month's time because, as Ms. Solu pointed out, the clock is ticking. Additionally, these dollars and metrics could really roll into a sales packet's probably not the right word, but my view would be almost a presentation to vacation rentals and to RV parks on the positive growth that can happen to their business by buying into this. Just saying, hey, pay a tax, it's a good way to get the door slammed in your face. But if we can show the dollars that we've spent, how the hoteliers have benefited, if they were to come into the fold, there would be additional dollars to be spent and sort of, like I said, a pro forma, a theoretical scenario on how that would benefit their business and just have that intimate conversation. I think that it might take us a few weeks, a month to even refine the look of that packet, go out to some people, bring it back, change it a couple more times, and really dial it in and start a grassroots campaign.
So I love the idea.
I know that's a lot.
No, well, and I think it definitely needs to come back
How do we just
December.
get through A through Z?
Yeah, so part of that economic development would be Connie, not me. So, I mean, I can't speak on his behalf if he can do that by December. But I think we definitely need to have this on the December agenda and how that unfolds and what he can get done in time. I mean, my part of it, I can do the budget and showing, versus if they're in the budget or not, and I can do all that. But the economic development part, he needs to be involved in that part of it. So I need to talk with him and make sure that he's comfortable doing that December. He's only been here 10 days. So
Perfect.
let's
And
put it
maybe
on
this
there.
is
Let's just
premature
do a
for
little-
the presentation packet.
Yeah.
That might be the follows the next meeting after we get a feel for the financials. I do think the
so maybe this
numbers.
is just the overview, and he should bring kind of some points of where he sees it going maybe, and I'll talk with him and see how he wants. But I agree, it has to be on December for sure.
I know a lot of this was contingent on our conversation with Scott. We had that today, and now it rests on our shoulders, frankly, to
Yeah.
move this forward or to not. And I think we all would like to get some numbers together before we decide ultimately how we feel as a board. So that's my proposal for one future agenda item.
Yeah.
Does anybody else want to add to refine that? I think we have a pretty good idea.
I would like to simplify it, okay? I would like Jennifer to put a list together of the benefits to a VRBO, Airbnb, RV park on joining TBID.
Well, that's
the
presentation packet.
Right, but I mean, just simplify it. Just next time, put it in our agenda packet, maybe 5 reasons, 10 reasons, okay? How it will benefit them, how it will benefit their growth, and put that growth in numbers. You're proposing the same growth as us, which if you look historically, we're not growing in occupancy. And we're not growing as fast in TOT as they are in numbers, okay? But, if you're going to talk somebody into coming aboard, that's it. 2, we just can't, the city, if I'm understanding this correctly, the city has to go into an election period to change a TBID. It's a government.
No,
thing.
quite the contrary. It's a self-assessment. So we go out, my understanding, we do the legwork. We get the people who are if 51% of those constituents agree, then we can take that then to city council and make a recommendation that, hey, the masses would like to see this done. And the city executes it, but we have to put forth the plan and the effort. Is that correct?
Okay, so here's the thing.
Public comment out there saying it's not even that hard. You just got to do it.
But there's another issue, and that is if we go out to reduce TBID to 2%, and they say no, and city says yes, how's that going to affect our budget?
I think this ought to be one.
You guys got to talk about this once it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
We just need to agendaize
Okay.
it right
Exactly.
now and move forward because
And this gives Jen the ability to put forth a few scenarios,
trouble.
create a staff
Okay.
report, and then we talk about it next
So then
time.
lastly, tied into a timeline, because in May, the hoteliers decide if they're going to move forward with TBID or not. And they're going to be looking at a growth. And they're going to be looking at TBID, and actually not TBID, but the city, saying, hey, stay where you are, stay alone, or stay where you are, and we will make sure that we incorporate, blah, blah, blah. Point is, we only have till May, which means we only have till April. So this has to all be done.
Agreed. And those are good timeline,
So we have to have a timeline,
Statements.
and we need to know the impact on budget.
which this is where Jen will have something for us in a staff report, preliminary budgets and timelines in 30 days' time. So that's one future agenda item. I think that sounds, that's all, Jen, just do that. And if you could personally talk to every hotel you're in town
Oh, I have
once a
another
week.
agenda. I have
that'd be
another
phenomenal.
agenda item, actually.
Okay, another agenda item. Yes, Jane.
I would like to know 6 months, December, January, February, March, April, May, what the events are and what our marketing plan is for those events. That includes Amgen. So, in other words, I want a 6-month review. What's our plans for marketing?
I understand. Most of it is in your marketing plan that you already pre-approved. Adding Amgen is a total separate thing, and I think it needs to be separated, to be honest. So I would rather not put that part of it. I'd like to have it separated because it has budgets and different things that we need to deal with versus city versus TBID. Okay?
Okay, so, basically, okay, then the last thing I would like up there is TBID, the the Director of Tourism's involvement in permits, event permits.
What exactly do you want what is the agenda item you exactly want?
Okay, so in my opinion, there's a lot of things that happen here that happen with permits that we could use for PR and marketing this town. And we're finding out about things after the fact, such as the Outside in the Field. Fabulous event, well-run, and gives us exposure into an entirely different economic bracket. And nobody knew about it. Well, few people knew about it, let's put it that way. If we would have known about this, because the permits were pulled 6 months ago, if we would have known about this, we could have at least done PR. Even if there were no tickets available, it shows that Morro Bay is something else.
So what I'm hearing is you want the permitting office to cascade down to the Director of Tourism, any permits have been pulled, and just foster communication.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
And we actually started this yesterday, so it's perfect timing.
Brilliant. There you go. So we'll see it next month. Thank you, Jane. Any other future agenda items?
I guess, we talked, we went through that horrible exercise, and when it was August or September, where we went through all the event, approving the budgets for the event. I shouldn't say it was horrible, but yes, the grants. Right. And we talked about at the end of that it was better to get ahead of that. So as we're talking about, like Jane's request to know what events are out there, are planned for January through May, for instance, at this point, would we also be looking to, are those people, would we be then reaching out to them, say, if you want money from us, you need to come to us now for that, or will it stay on the same cycle where once a year we review all of the grants?
Well, we don't have any money right now for grant giving, so
If we want to make
don't
this an
know.
item for the next agenda, we
Right.
can put it on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
Right,
yeah,
so
yeah,
if you want
that's
to
a good-
do grant reform, that was talked about, or whatever, but it may have nothing to do with TBID at this point.
I'll just give an overview at the next meeting of what's going on with the grant cycle. How's that?
Okay. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be here. I'm sad to say, but.
If you want on the items, you have to be here. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. That should be fair enough, right?
Okay, so Jen will just give a brief synopsis of the event granting process for the next item. Are there any other future agenda items people would like to see? Charlie? Okay, seeing that you are good. Seeing no further public comment, unless there is any, then we will call this meeting adjourned. It is 11:39 a.m.